Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 25. The Emperor Aimi, Wairo Dizutioyo Hi. The Emperor Aim Yoradzu Toyo. Hai was a younger brother by the same mother of the Empress Aim Toyo, Takara Akashi Hai Tarashi, Haim. He honored the religion of Buddha and despised the way of the gods. He was of a gentle disposition and loved men of learning. He made no distinction of noble and mean, and continually dispensed beneficent edicts. In the 4th year, the 6th month, and the 14th day of her reign, the Empress Aim Toyo Takara Akashi, Hai Tarashi, Haim wished to transfer the dignity to Naka no Ohoi and made orders saying, etc., etc. Naka no Ohoi, when he retired, informed Nakatomi Kamako no Muraji, who advised him, saying, Furubido no Ohoi is your highness elder brother. The Imperial Prince Karu is your highness maternal uncle. If at present, during the lifetime of Furubido no Ohoi, your highness should ascend to the imperial dignity, it would be a transgression against the sentiment of respect and obedience due from younger brothers. Would it not, therefore, be better to raise your maternal uncle to the throne, and so respond to the expectations of the people? Upon this, Naka no Ohoi was profoundly pleased with this advice, and reported it privately to the Empress. Upon this, Furubido no Ohoi left his seat, and retiring to a distance, folded his arms and excused himself, saying, Let us comply with the sage will of the Empress. Why shouldst thou take the trouble to transfer it to thy servant? It is my desire to renounce the world, and to go to Yashino, there to devote myself to the practice of the law of Buddha, and thus render support to the emperor. When he had concluded his refusal, he ungirt the sword which he had on and flung it to the ground. Moreover, he gave orders to all his household to ungird their swords. That same day he went to the temple of Hikoji, and there, between the hall of Buddha and the pagoda, he shaved off his beard and hair and put on the kessa. In consequence, the imperial Prince Karu was unable to persist in his refusal, and ascending the throne, assumed the dignity. At this time, Ohitomo no Nagatoko no Muraji, girt with a golden quiver, stood on the right hand of the throne, and Inugami no Take no Kimi, girt with a golden quiver, stood on the left hand of the throne. The functionaries, Omi, Muraji, Kuni no Miyako, Tomo no Miyako, and the 180B, ranged in order, went round making obeisance. On this day the title of Bo was conferred on the Empress Toyo Takara, and Naka no Ohoi was made Prince Imperial. Abe no Uchimaro no Omi was made Sadai, Jin, and Soga no Kuriyamada Ishikawa no Maro no Omi was made Udai, Jin. Nakatomi no Kamako no Muraji cherished the most sincere loyalty. Trusting to his power as ruling minister, he took place over the various functionaries. The Buddhist priest Min Hoshi and Kuramaro Takamuko, no Fubido, were made national doctors. 15th day. Golden tablets were granted to the Oho, Omi, Abe no Kurahashi no Maro, and to the Oho, Omi, Soga no Yamada no Ishikawa no Maro. 19th day. The Emperor, the Empress Dowager, and the Prince Imperial summoned together the ministers under the great Tsuki tree, and made an oath appealing to the gods of heaven and earth, and saying, Heaven covers us, earth upbears us, the imperial way is but one. But in this last degenerate age, the order of lord and vassal was destroyed, until supreme heaven by our hands put to death the traitors. Now, from this time forward, both parties shedding their heart blood, the lord will eschew double methods of government, and the vassal will avoid duplicity in his service of the sovereign. On him who breaks this oath, heaven will send a curse and earth a plague, demons will slay them, and men will smite them. This is as manifest as the sun and moon. The style 4th year of the Empress Aim, Toyo, Takara Akashi, Hai Tarashi, Haim was altered to Daikwa 1st year. AD 645. Daikwa, 1st year, autumn, 7th month, 2nd day. The imperial princess Hashibito, daughter of the Emperor Akinaga Tarashi, Hiro Nuka was made empress. 2 consorts were appointed. The senior was Wo Terashi, Haim, daughter of the Oho Omi, Abe no Kurahashi no Mero. She was the mother of the Imperial Prince Arima. The junior consort was Kai Iratsum, daughter of the Oho Omi, Soga no Yamada no Ishikawa no Mero. 10th day. Courier, Pekshe, and Silla all sent envoys at the same time bearing tribute. The Pekshe tribute. Envoys were also charged with the office of envoys from Imna and with the Imna tribute. But the Pekshe chief envoy, the Cha Firing Yurn Pak, fell ill and remained in the official residence of the port, so that he did not enter the capital. Kos no Tokuda no Omi addressed the courier envoys on the emperor's behalf, saying, "This is the mandate of the Emperor of Japan, who rules the world as a god incarnate." The envoys sent by the emperor and the envoys sent by the courier sons of the gods have a brief past, but a long future. Let them, therefore, simply continue to pass backwards and forwards with friendly hearts. Next, he addressed the Pekshe envoys on the emperor's behalf, saying, "This is the mandate of the Emperor of Japan, who rules the world as a god incarnate." At first, in the reign of our remote imperial ancestor, the land of Pekshe was made an interior miyake, which might be compared to a 3-fold cord. In more recent times, Imna was handed over to be a dependency of Pekshe. After that, Idzumabito, Miwa no Kurakuma no Kimi, was sent to inspect the frontier of the land of Imna, and the king of Pekshe, in obedience to the emperor's behest, showed him all the frontier. Yet there is a deficiency in the tribute, and it is therefore returned. The articles which are the produce of Imna are distinctly observed by the emperor. Now for the future the country should be noted down, as well the tribute which comes from it. May you, the Cha, Firing, and the others, come back unchanged in appearance, and speedily bring us a clear answer. Idzumabito, Miwa no Kimi, and Mumakahi no Miyako will now be sent again. A further imperial order was given. Let the wife and children of wise Sa, a Talsal of Quipu, be sent away. 12th day. The emperor gave command to the Oho Omi, Abe no Kurahashi no Mero, and the Oho Omi, Soga no Ishikawa no Mero, saying, "The empire should be ruled by following in the footsteps of the emperors of antiquity. Moreover, in your government of the empire, you should preserve fidelity." 13th day. The emperor gave command to the Oho Omi, Abe no Kurahashi no Mero, and the Oho Omi, Soga no Ishikawa no Mero, saying, "Inquire of the Debu and the 100 Tomo no Miyako, one after another, as to the method of making gladness the means of using the people's services." 14th day. The Oho Omi, Soga no Ishikawa no Mero, addressed the emperor, saying, "First of all, the gods of heaven and earth should be propitiated by worship. Thereafter, affairs of government ought to be considered. On this day, Hirafu, Yamato no Ayano Atath, was sent to the province of Wohari and Kamero, Imbe no Abaito to the province of Mino, to levy offerings for the gods." 8th month, 5th day. Governors of the eastern provinces were appointed. Then the governors were addressed as follows. "In accordance with the charge entrusted to us by the gods of heaven, we propose at this present for the first time to regulate the myriad provinces. When you proceed to your posts, prepare registers of all the free subjects of the state and of the people under the control of others, whether great or small. Take account also of the acreage of cultivated land. As to the profits arising from the gardens and ponds, the water and land, deal with them in common with the people. Moreover, it is not competent for the provincial governors, while in their provinces, to decide criminal cases, nor are they permitted by accepting bribes to bring the people to poverty and misery. When they come up to the capital, they must not bring large numbers of the people in their train. They are only allowed to bring with them the Kuni no Miyako and the district officials. But when they travel on public business, they may ride the horses of their department and eat the food of their department. From the rank of Suk upwards, those who obey this law will surely be rewarded, while those who disobey it shall be liable to be reduced in cap rank. On all, from the rank of Hangwon downwards, who accept bribes, a fine shall be imposed of double the amount, and they shall eventually be punished criminally according to the greater or less heinousness of the case. 9 men are allowed as attendants on a chief governor, 7 on an assistant, and 5 on a secretary. If this limit is exceeded, and they are accompanied by a greater number, both chief and followers shall be punished criminally. If there be any persons who lay claim to a title, but who, not being Kuni no Miyako, Tomo no Miyako, or Iniki of districts by descent, unscrupulously draw up lying memorials, saying, "From the time of our forefathers we have had charge of this miyake or have ruled this district in such cases," ye, the governors, must not readily make application to the court in acquiescence in such fictions, but must ascertain particularly the true facts before making your report. Moreover, on waste pieces of ground let arsenals be erected, and let the swords and armor, with the bows and arrows of the provinces and districts, be deposited together in them. In the case of the frontier provinces, which border close on the Yamishi, let all the weapons be mustered together, and let them remain in the hands of their original owners. In regard to the 6 districts of the province of Yamato, let the officials who are sent there prepare registers of the population, and also take an account of the acreage of cultivated land. This means to examine the acreage of the cultivated ground, and the numbers, houses, and ages of the people. Ye governors of provinces, take careful note of this and withdraw. Accordingly, presents were made them of silk and cloth, which varied in the case of each person. This day, a bell and box were provided in the court. The emperor issued an order, saying, "If there be a complainant, in case the person in question belongs to a Tomo no Miyako, let the Tomo no Miyako first make inquiry and then report to us. In case the person in question has an elder, let the elder first make inquiry and then report to us. If, however, the Tomo no Miyako or the elder does not come to a clear decision respecting the complaint, let a document be received and placed in the box, and punishment will be inflicted according to the offense. The person who receives the document should at dawn take it and make report to the inner palace, when we will mark on it the year and month, and communicate it to the ministers. In case there is any neglect to decide it, or if there are malpractices on the part of intriguing persons, let the complainant strike the bell. This is why the bell is hung and box provided in the court. Let the people of the empire know and appreciate our intention. Moreover, the law of men and women shall be that the children born of a free man and a free woman shall belong to the father. If a free man takes to wife a slave woman, her children shall belong to the mother. If a free woman marries a slave man, the children of the marriage shall belong to the father. If they are slaves of 2 houses, the children shall belong to the mother. The children of temple serfs shall follow the rule for freemen. But in regard to others who become slaves, they shall be treated according to the rule for slaves. Do you now publish this well to the people as a beginning of regulations? 8th day. A messenger was sent to the great temple to summon together the Buddhist priests and nuns, and to address them on the part of the emperor, saying, "In the 13th year of the reign of the emperor, who ruled the world in the palace of Shikishima, King Myung of Pekshe reverently transmitted the law of Buddha to our great Yamato. At this time, the ministers in a body were opposed to its transmission. Only Soga no Iname, no Sukyun believed in this law, and the emperor accordingly instructed him to receive it with reverence. In the reign of the emperor who ruled the world in the palace of Wasada, Soga no Mumako no Sukyun, influenced by his reverence for his deceased father, continued to prize highly the doctrines of Buddha. But the other ministers had no faith in it, and its institutes had almost perished when the emperor instructed Mumako no Sukyun reverently to receive this law. In the reign of the empress who ruled the world in the palace of Woharita, Mumako no Sukyun, on behalf of the empress, made an embroidered figure of Buddha 16 feet high and a copper image of Buddha 16 feet high. He exalted the doctrine of Buddha and showed honor to its priests and nuns. It is our desire anew to exalt the pure doctrine and brilliantly to promulgate great principles. We therefore appoint as professors the following 10 persons: the S. Ramana, Hak Nyang, Haye Un, Siang and Nyerng Un and Haye Kai, Tehoshi of Koma and Sabin, Dodo, Yeren, Yemio and Yon, chief priests of temples. We separately appoint the Hoshi, Yemio, chief priest of the temple of Kudara. Let these 10 professors well instruct the priests in general in the practice of the teachings of Shaka. It is needful that they be made to comply with the law. If there is a difficulty about repairing temples built by any from the emperor down to the Tomo no Miyako, we will in all cases assist in doing so. We shall also cause temple commissioners and chief priests to be appointed, who shall make a circuit to all the temples, and having ascertained the actual facts respecting the priests and nuns, their male and female slaves, and the acreage of their cultivated lands, report all the particulars clearly to us. Accordingly, Kyum no Omi, Miwa no Shikabu no Kimi, and Ohai, Nukadabe no Mureji, were appointed Hodo. 9th month, 1st day. Officials were sent on a mission to all the provinces to regulate the matter of weapons. One book says, from the 6th to the 9th month, messengers were sent to the provinces of the 4 quarters to collect weapons of all kinds. 3rd day. The Imperial Prince Furubido Kahahori, Soga no Taguchi no Omi, Shihimi, Mononobe no Yanowi no Muraji, Shidaru, Kibai no Kasa no Omi, Maro, Yamato no Aya no Fumi no Atath, and Takutsu, Yeche no Hada no Miyako, plotted rebellion. One book says, the heir apparent Furubido. One book says, Furubido no Ohoi. This imperial prince repaired to the mountains of Yashino, and he is therefore sometimes styled the heir apparent of Yashino. 12th day. Naka no Ohoi straightway sent Yuda no Yanamuro no Furu, and Koma no Miyachi, with a considerable force, to attack the imperial prince Furubido no Ohoi and his companions. One book says, 11th month, 30th day. Naka no Ohoi sent Abe, Kasob no Omi, and Sahikaib no Camaro, these 2, with a force of 30 men to attack Furubido no Ohoi. They slew Furubido no Ohoi and his children. His consorts strangled themselves. One book says, 11th month. Prince Yashino no Ohoi plotted rebellion, but the matter having become public, he was executed. 19th day. Commissioners were sent to all the provinces to take a record of the total numbers of the people. The emperor on this occasion made an edict as follows. In the times of all the emperors, from antiquity downwards, subjects have been set apart for the purpose of making notable their reigns and handing down their names to posterity. Now the Omi and Mureji, the Tomo no Miyako and the Kuni no Miyako, have each one set apart their own vassals, whom they compel to labor at their arbitrary pleasure. Moreover, they cut off the hills and seas, the woods and plains, the ponds and rice, fields belonging to the provinces and districts, and appropriate them to themselves. Their contests are never ceasing. Some engross to themselves many tens of thousands of shiro of rice, land, while others possess in all patches of ground too small to stick a needle into. When the time comes for the payment of taxes, the Omi, the Mureji, and the Tomo no Miyako first collect them for themselves and then hand over a share. In the case of repairs to palaces or the construction of Misasagi, they each bring their own vassals and do the work according to circumstances. The Book of Changes says, diminish that which is above, increase that which is below. If measures are framed according to the regulations, the resources suffer no injury and the people receive no hurt. At the present time, the people are still few. And yet the powerful cut off portions of land and water, and converting them into private ground, sell it to the people, demanding the price yearly. From this time forward, the sale of land is not allowed. Let no man without due authority make himself a landlord, engrossing to himself that which belongs to the helpless. The people were greatly rejoiced. Winter, 12th month, 9th day. The emperor removed the capital to Toyosaki, in Nagara at Naniha. Old people, remarking upon this to one another, said, "The movement of rats towards Naniha from spring until summer was an omen of the removal of the capital." 24th day. It was reported from the land of Koshi, drift, wood of the seashore passed away towards the east, leaving an impression on the sand like a plowed rice field in appearance. This year was the year Kenoto-mi of the cycle. AD 646. Second year, spring, first month, first day. As soon as the ceremonies of the New Year congratulations were over, the emperor promulgated an edict of reforms as follows. I. Let the people established by the ancient emperors, etc., as representatives of children be abolished, also the miake of various places and the people owned as serfs by the wake, the omi, the mureji, the tomo no miyako, the kuni no miyako, and the mura no abido. Let the farmsteads in various places be abolished. Consequently, fiefs were granted for their sustenance to those of the rank of debu, and upwards on a descending scale. Presents of cloth and silk stuffs were given to the officials and people, varying in value. Further we say, it is the business of the debu to govern bel token. Bel token the people. If they discharge this duty thoroughly, the people have trust in them, and an increase of their revenue is therefore for the good of the people. Aye aye. The capital is for the first time to be regulated, and governors appointed for the home provinces and districts. Let barriers, outposts, guards, and post, horses both special and ordinary be provided, bell tokens made, and mountains and rivers regulated. For each ward in the capital let there be appointed one alderman, and for 4 wards one chief alderman, who shall be charged with the superintendence of the population and the examination of criminal matters. For appointment as chief alderman of wards, let men be taken belonging to the wards, of unblemished character, firm and upright, so that they may fitly sustain the duties of the time. For appointments as aldermen, whether of rural townships or of city wards, let ordinary subjects be taken belonging to the township or ward, of good character and solid capacity. If such men are not to be found in the township or ward in question, it is permitted to select and employ men of the adjoining township or ward. The home provinces shall include the region from the river Yakagaha at Nabari on the east, from Mount Senyama in Ki on the south, from Kashibachi and Akashi on the west, and from Mount Ifusaka, Yama in Sasanami and Ifumi on the north. Districts of 40 townships are constituted greater districts, of from 30 to 4 townships are constituted middle districts, and of 3 or fewer townships are constituted lesser districts. For the district authorities, of whatever class, let there be taken kuni no miyako of unblemished character, such as may fitly sustain the duties of the time, and made teri and shore. Let men of solid capacity and intelligence, who are skilled in writing and arithmetic, be appointed assistants and clerks. The number of special or ordinary post, horses given shall in all cases follow the number of marks on the posting bell tokens. When bell tokens are given to the provinces and barriers, let them be held in both cases by the chief official, or in his absence by the assistant official. Aye aye aye. Let there now be provided for the first time registers of population, books of account, and a system of the receipt and granting of distribution land. Let every 50 houses be reckoned a township, and in every township let there be one alderman who shall be charged with the superintendence of the population, the direction of the sowing of crops and the cultivation of mulberry trees, the prevention and examination of offenses, and the enforcement of the payment of taxes and of forced labor. For rice, land, 30 paces in length by 12 paces in breadth shall be reckoned a tan. 10 tan make 1 cho. For each tan, the tax is 2 sheaves, and 2 bundles can be grasped in the hand of rice. For each cho, the tax is 22 sheaves of rice. On mountains, or in valleys where the land is precipitous, or in remote places where the population is scanty, such arrangements are to be made as may be convenient. IV. The old taxes and forced labor are abolished, and a system of commuted taxes instituted. These shall consist of fine silks, coarse silks, raw silk, and floss silk, all in accordance with what is produced in the locality. For each cho of rice, land the rate is 1 rod of fine silk, or for 4 cho 1 piece 40 feet in length by 2.5 feet in width. For coarse silk, the rate is 2 rods, or 1 piece for every 2 cho of the same length and width as the fine silk. For cloth, the rate is 4 rods of the same dimensions as the fine and coarse silk, i.e. 1 tan for each cho. Let there be levied separately a commuted house tax. All houses shall pay each 1 rod and 2 feet of cloth. The extra articles of this tax, as well as salt and offerings, will depend on what is produced in the locality. For horses for the public service, let every 100 houses contribute 1 horse of medium quality. Or if the horse is of superior quality, let 1 be contributed by every 200 houses. If the horses have to be purchased, the price shall be made up by a payment from each house of 1 rod and 2 feet of cloth. As to weapons, each person shall contribute a sword, armor, bow and arrows, a flag, and a drum. For coolies, the old system, by which 1 coolie was provided by every 30 houses, is altered, and 1 coolie is to be furnished from every 50 houses for allotment to the various functionaries. 50 houses shall be allotted to provide rations for 1 coolie, and 1 house shall contribute 2 rods and 2 feet of cloth, and 5 masu of rice in lieu of service. For waiting women in the palace, let there be furnished the sisters or daughters of district officials of the rank of shore or upwards, good-looking women, and let 100 houses be allotted to provide rations for 1 waiting woman. The cloth and rice supplied in lieu of service shall, in every case, follow the same rule as for coolies. In this month, the emperor occupied the separate palace of Kashiro. He sent messengers to command the provinces and districts to repair the arsenals. Yamishi came and did homage. One book says, the miyake of Kashiro in the village of Saabe at Naniha was pulled down and a temporary palace erected. 2nd month, 15th day. They erected buildings in the thoroughfares, where they listened to the censures of the passers by. Even the opinions of the grass and firewood gatherers, they inquired personally and used for their guidance. We therefore, on a former occasion, made an edict, saying, in ancient times the empire was ruled by having at the court flags of honor for the encouragement of good, and a board of censure, the object being to diffuse principles of government and to invite remonstrances. All this served widely to ascertain the opinions of those below. Quan Tishi said, the Emperor Hwang, by establishing the conferences of the Bright Hall, observed the opinions of the wise on the upper hand, while the Emperor Yao, having the inquiries of the street, houses, listened to the people on the lower hand. Shun again had flags to proclaim merit and thus secure publicity, and Yu set up a drum at his court, thus providing for the investigation into expectations. Tiang had the court of the general control of districts, whereby he observed the faults of the people. King Wu had the park of the Spirit Terrace, and therefore the wise had advancement. Thus the sage emperor and illustrious sovereigns of antiquity possessed and did not lose, they gained and did not destroy. The object of hanging up a bell, of providing a box, and of appointing a man to receive petitions is to make those who have grievances or remonstrances deposit their petitions in the box. The receivers of petitions are commanded to make their report to us every morning. When we receive this report, we shall draw the attention of the ministers to it and cause them to consider it, and we trust that this may be done without delay. But if there should be neglect on the part of the ministers, and a want of diligence or partisan intrigues, and if we, moreover, should refuse to listen to remonstrance, let the complainant strike the bell. There has been already an imperial command to this effect. But some time afterwards, there was a man of intelligence and uprightness who, cherishing in his heart the spirit of a national patriot, addressed us a memorial of earnest remonstrance, which he placed in the box prepared for the purpose. We therefore now publish it to the black-haired people here assembled. This memorial runs as follows. Those subjects who come to the capital in connection with the discharge of their duty to the government of the country are detained by the various public functionaries and put to forced labor of various kinds, etc., etc. We are still moved with strong sympathy by this. How could the people expect that things would come to this? Now no long time has elapsed since the capital was removed, so that so far from being at home, we are, as it were, strangers. It is therefore impossible to avoid employing the people, and they have therefore been, against our will, compelled to labor. As often as our minds dwell on this, we have never been able to sleep in peace. When we saw this memorial, we could not refrain from a joyous exclamation. We have accordingly complied with the language of remonstrance, and have put a stop to the forced services at various places. In a former edict, we said, "Let the man who remonstrates sign his name." Those who disobey this injunction are doubtless actuated by a wish to serve their country, and not by a desire of personal gain. Whether a man signs his name or not, let him not fail to remonstrate with us on our neglect or forgetfulness. Another edict was made as follows. There are many things of which the assembled people of the land complain. We are now about to explain our principles. Listen attentively to what we say. Those who come to the capital and assemble at court in order to obtain decisions of doubtful points should not disperse in the morning, but remain together in attendance at court. Courier, Pekshay, Imna, and Silla all together sent envoys to offer tribute. 22nd day. The emperor returned from the detached palace of Kashiro. 3rd month, 2nd day. An edict was issued to the governors of the eastern provinces, saying, "Do all ye ministers and Debu assembled in attendance on us, as well as ye Omi, Mureji, Kuni no Miyako, and Tomo no Miyako, and also ye subjects of every class, listen to this. He that is Lord between heaven and earth and rules the myriad people ought not to exercise control alone. He must have ministers to support him. From generation to generation, therefore, our imperial ancestors have governed along with the ancestors of you, my ministers. It is our wish also, with the protecting power of the gods, to associate you with ourselves in the government. We therefore, on a former occasion, appointed Debu, of good family, to the government of the 8 eastern provinces. Then the governors went to their posts. 6 obeyed the laws, and 2 were regardless of our commands. In each case, censure or praise became audible. We thereupon commended those who kept the law, and were severe with those who disregarded the instructions given them. He that would be a ruler, whether he be lord or minister, should first correct himself, and then correct others. If he do not correct himself, how shall he be able to correct others? He therefore who does not correct himself, be he lord or be he minister, will meet with calamity. Should one not be watchful? If ye, the leaders, are upright, who shall presume to be otherwise? Do ye now be guided by our former commands in dispensing your judgments? 19th day. The emperor made a decree to the Chishashi of the eastern provinces, saying, "Hear this, all ye ministers and Debu assembled in our presence, as well as ye Kuni no Miyako and Tomo no Miyako, together with the subjects of all classes. In the 8th month of last year, we in person admonished you, saying, do not use your official authority to appropriate public or private property. You should consume food of your own domain and ride horses of your own domain. Those who disregard this admonition, if of the rank of assistant governor or higher, shall be degraded in official rank, if of the rank of clerk or lower, shall be sentenced to flogging. Those who convert property to their own use shall be mulcted in double its value. Such was the edict which we issued. Now, when we inquired from the Chishashi and the Miyako of the various provinces whether the local governors, when they proceeded to their posts, attended to this admonition or not, the Chishashi and the others informed us fully of the facts, to wit, the offense of Kyuhai, Hatsumi no Omi, consists in having made exactions from each family among the people, and though he repented and gave back the things, not doing so completely. The inferior officials have all been guilty of offenses. The offense of Kos no Tokyu no Omi consists in having made exactions from each family among the people, and though he repented and returned the things, not doing so completely. He has moreover taken away the horses of the agricultural serfs. His two assistants, Yanoi no Mureji and Ashizaka no Mureji, did not correct the faults of their chief, but on the contrary joined with him in prosecuting their own advantage. They have moreover taken away horses belonging to the Kuni no Miyako. Sumi Utina no Ata, although at first he remonstrated with his chief, yet at last became corrupt along with him. The inferior officials are all guilty of offenses. The offense of Kai no Marikita no Omi consists in having sent men to a Sakura no Kimi and win out no Kimi to fetch their horses for him to look at. Further, he made a Sakura no Kimi manufacture swords. Further, he got from a Sakura no Kimi his bow, cloth. Further, he did not honestly return to their owners the articles sent by the Kuni no Miyako in lieu of weapons, but delivered them to the Kuni no Miyako in an irregular manner. Further, in the province committed to his charge, he allowed himself to be robbed of a sword. Further, in the province of Yamato, he allowed himself to be robbed of a sword. These are the offenses of Kai no Omi and of his assistants, Oho, Guchai, Miwa no Kimi, and Mamyari, Kahib no Omi. Their subordinate officials, Shihatsu, Kahib no Omi, Tajihi no Fukame, Mazu no Nage, Katsuraki no Seigusa, Naniha no Kyuhakame, Inyukahi no Isajimi Maro, Iki no Fubito, Tajihi no Inyum, these 8 persons, all are guilty of offenses. The offense of Idzumi no Mureji consists in this, that when Wadoku no Fubito was ill, he caused the Kuni no Miyako to send government property. Further, he took horses belonging to the Yube. The offense of his assistant Mamwari, Kashihade no Omi, consists in his having received and stored in his house articles paid in lieu of hay. Further, he took the horses of the Kuni no Miyako and exchanged them for others. The 2 brothers, Ihitsatsu and Yumero, Kehabi no Omi, have also been guilty of offenses. Ohachi no Muraji offense consists in his having disobeyed our former decree, which was as follows. Let not the local governors personally judge the plaints of the people in the districts placed under their charge. He has disobeyed this edict in that he has taken it upon himself personally to judge the plaints of the men of Yudo and the matter of the slaves of Nakatomi no Toko. Nakatomi no Toko is equally guilty with him in this matter. The offense of Kishida no Omi consists in his having had his official sword stolen when he was in the province of Yamato. This showed a want of circumspection. As for Wamadori no Omi and Tamba no Omi, they have been simply incompetent, but not guilty of any offense. The 2 men, Imbe no Konomi and Matsuki, Nakatomi no Mureji, have also been guilty of offenses. Neither of these 2 men, viz. Hada no Omi and Taguchi no Omi, have committed any offense. The offense of Heguri no Omi consists in his having neglected to investigate the plaints of the men of Makuni. Upon a review of these facts, we find that all this is owing to the neglect and incompetence of you 3, viz. Kai no Mariki no Omi, Kos no Tokyu no Omi, and Hatsumi no Kyuhai no Omi. Is it not painful to us to think of your disobedience to our edict? Now if he who has pastoral care of the people, whether as lord or minister, gives a personal example of upright conduct, who shall presume to do otherwise? But if he, whether lord or minister, be not upright in heart, it is fit that he should bear the guilt. What avails it to repent afterwards? We shall therefore consider the cases of all these local governors, and punish them according to the gravity of their offenses. With regard, moreover, to the Kuni no Miyako, who have disobeyed our edict by sending presents to the governors of their provinces, and at length joining with them in the pursuit of gain, constantly conceive foul wickedness, repressive measures are indispensable. But although such are our thoughts, we have only begun to occupy our new palace, and are about to make offerings to all the kami, both which matters belong to the present year. Moreover, it is not meet to employ the people in labor during the months of agriculture. But in connection with the building of a new palace, it was decidedly impossible to avoid doing so. Deeply conscious of both these considerations, we proclaim a general amnesty throughout the empire. From this time forward, let the local governors of provinces and districts be zealous and do their utmost. Let them avoid profligacy. Let messengers be sent to release all banished men of the various provinces, and all prisoners in the jails without exception. In contradistinction from the rest, the following 6 men, viz. Shihoya no Kaneshiro, Kemikozo no Seigusa, Asakura no Kimi, Mariko no Mureji, Mikaha no Oho, Tomo no Atath, and Suzuki wo no Atath, have been obedient to the emperor. We profoundly commend their sentiments. Let the official rice, fields belonging to the public offices in various places be done away with, as well as the lent, rice in various places belonging to the Koso, Bo Kibishima, and let her official rice, lands be distributed among all our ministers and Tomo no Miyako. Moreover, let rice, land and hill, tracts be given to those temples which are omitted from the registers. 20th day. The Prince Imperial, by a messenger, addressed a petition to the emperor, saying, "In the reigns of the former emperors, they treated the empire as a whole, and so ruled it. But when we come to the present time, there was division and separation, to the injury of the work. Now that it has devolved on the emperor, our sovereign, to have pastoral charge of the myriad people, heaven and man respond harmoniously to each other, and the government has been reformed. As well as their miake, be allowed to remain the same as in former generations, or not. Thy servant, having received this command with reverence, replies respectfully, saying, In heaven there are not 2 suns, in a country there are not 2 rulers. It is therefore the emperor alone who is supreme over all the empire, and who has a right to the services of the myriad people. Make a special selection of laborers from the Iribe, and from the people granted in fee, and follow the former arrangement. For the rest, it may be feared that they will be put to forced labor on private authority. I therefore offer to the emperor 524 men of the Iribe, and 180, 1 miake. 22nd day. The emperor made a decree as follows. We are informed that a prince of the western land admonished his people, saying, Those who made interments in ancient times resorted to a high ground which they formed into a tomb. They did not pile up a mound, nor did they plant trees. The inner and outer coffin were merely enough to last till the bones decayed. The shroud was merely sufficient to last till the flesh decayed. I shall therefore cultivate the unproductive pieces of land occupied by these tombs, to the end that their place may be forgotten after changing generations. Deposit not in them gold, or silver, or copper, or iron, and let earthenware objects alone represent the clay chariots and straw figures of antiquity. Let the interstices of the coffin be varnished. Let the offerings consist of rice presented 3 times, and let not pearls or jewels be placed in the mouth of the deceased. Bestow not jewel, shirts, or jade armor. All these things are practices of the unenlightened vulgar. Again it is said, burial is putting away, and proceeds from the desire to prevent the dead from being seen by people. Of late, the poverty of our people is absolutely owing to the construction of tombs. We now issue regulations, making distinction of noble and mean. The inner dimensions of tombs of persons of the rank of princes and upwards shall be 9 feet in length by 5 in width. Their outer limits shall be 9 fathoms square, and their height 5 fathoms. The work shall be completed by 1,000 laborers in 7 days. A hearse may be used. The inner dimensions of tombs of superior ministers shall be similar in length, breadth, and height to the above. Their outer limits shall be 7 fathoms square, and they shall be 3 fathoms in height. The work shall be completed by 500 laborers in 5 days. At the time of interment, white cloth shall be used for the hangings of the bier, which shall be borne on men's shoulders. The inner dimensions of a tomb of a minister of a lower class shall be in every respect similar in length, breadth, and height to the above. Their outer limits shall be 5 fathoms square, and they shall be 2.5 fathoms in height. The work shall be completed by 250 laborers in 3 days. At the time of interment, white cloth shall be used for hangings. In other matters, the same rule as before is to be followed. The inner dimensions of the tombs of persons of the rank of Dainin and Shonin shall be 9 feet in length and 4 feet in height and breadth. The ground shall be made level and no mound raised. The work shall be completed by 200 laborers in 1 day. In the case of persons from the rank of Dari to that of Shacha inclusive, the tombs shall in all respects follow the rule of Dainin, but the work shall be completed by 50 laborers in 1 day. Let small stones be used for the tombs of all from the rank of prince down to that of Shacha, and let white cloth be used for the hangings. When ordinary persons die, let them be buried in the ground, and let the hangings be of coarse cloth. Let the interment not be delayed for a single day. The construction of places of temporary interment is not allowed in any case, from princes down to common people. Not only in the home provinces, but in the provinces generally, let plots of ground be set apart for interments. It is not permitted to pollute the earth by dispersed interments in various places. When a man dies, there have been cases of people sacrificing themselves by strangulation, or of strangling others by way of sacrifice, or of compelling the dead man horse to be sacrificed, or of burying valuables in the grave in honor of the dead, or of cutting off the hair, and stabbing the thighs and pronouncing an eulogy on the dead. Let all such old customs be entirely discontinued. A certain book says, no gold or silver, no silk brocades, and no colored stuffs are to be buried. Again, it is said, from the ministers of all ranks down to the common people, it is not allowed to use gold or silver. Should there be any cases of this decree being disregarded, and these prohibitions infringed, the relations shall surely receive punishment. Again, there are many cases of persons who, having seen, say that they have not seen, or who, having not seen, say that they have seen, or who, having heard, say that they have not heard, or who, having not heard, say that they have heard, being deliberate liars and devoid of truth in words and in sight. Again, there have been many cases in which slaves, both male and femme, false to their masters in their poverty, but take themselves of their own accord to influential houses in quest of a livelihood, which influential houses forcibly detain and purchase them, and do not send them to their original owners. Again, there have been very many cases in which wives or concubines, when dismissed by their husbands, have, after the lapse of years, married other husbands, as ordinary morality allows. Then their former husbands, after 3 or 4 years, have made greedy demands on the second husband property, seeking their own gain. Again, there have been very many cases in which men, relying on their power, have rudely demanded people daughters in marriage. In the interval, however, before going to his house, the girl has, of her own accord, married another, and the rude suitor has angrily made demands of the property of both families for his own gain. Again, there have been numerous cases of this kind. Sometimes a wife who has lost her husband marries another man after the lapse of 10 or 20 years and becomes his spouse. Or an unmarried girl is married for the first time. Upon this, people, out of envy of the married pair, have made them perform purgation. Again, there are cases in which women, who have become men wives and who, being put away owing to their husband's dislike of them, have, in their mortification at this injury, compelled themselves to become blemished slaves. Again, there are cases in which the husband, having frequent occasion to be jealous of his wife's illicit intercourse with others, voluntarily appeals to the authorities to decide the matter. Let such persons not lay their information until they have obtained, let us say, 3 credible witnesses to join with them in making a declaration. Why should they bring forward ill-considered plaints? Again, there have been cases of men employed on forced labor in border lands who, when the work was over and they were returning to their village, have fallen suddenly ill and lain down to die by the roadside. Upon this, the houses by the roadside say, "Why should people be allowed to die on our road?" And they have accordingly detained the companions of the deceased and compelled them to do purgation. For this reason, it often happens that even if an elder brother lies down and dies on the road, his younger brother will refuse to take up his body. Again, there are cases of peasants being drowned in a river. The bystanders say, "Why should we be made to have anything to do with drowned men?" They accordingly detain the drowned man companions and compel them to do purgation. For this reason, it often happens that even when an elder brother is drowned in a river, his younger brother will not render assistance. Again, there are cases of people who, when employed on forced labor, cook their rice by the roadside. Upon this, the houses by the roadside say, "Why should people cook rice at their own pleasure on our road?" and have compelled them to do purgation. Again, there are cases when people have applied to others for the loan of pots in which to boil their rice, and the pots have knocked against something and have been upset. Upon this, the owner of the pot compels purgation to be made. All such practices are habitual among the unenlightened vulgar. Let them now be discontinued without exception and not permitted again. Again, there are cases in which peasants, when they are about to proceed to the capital, apprehensive lest their riding horses should be worn out and unable to go, give 2 fathoms of cloth and 2 bundles of hemp to men of the 2 provinces of Makaha or Wohari, to hire them to feed their horses. After they have been to the capital and are on their way home, they make them a present of a spade, and then find that the men of Makaha, etc., have not only failed to feed their horses properly, but have allowed them to die of starvation. In the case of horses of a superior class, they conceive covetous desires and invent lying tales of their having been stolen, while in the case of mares which become pregnant in their house, they cause purgation to be made, and in the end make a plunder of the beast. Such things having come to our ears, we therefore now establish the following regulation. Whenever horses are left at livery in any of the provinces along the highway, let the owner take with him the man whom he engages for this purpose, and make a full statement to the village elder, handing over at the same time the articles given as remuneration. It is unnecessary for him to make any further payment when he returns home. If he has caused the horse to suffer harm, he should get nothing. If anyone disobeys this edict, a severe penalty shall be imposed. The dues payable to market commissioners, for main roads, and to ferrymen are abolished and lands are granted instead. Beginning with the home provinces and embracing the provinces in all 4 quarters during the agricultural months, let everyone apply himself early to the cultivation of the rice land. It is not meet at such a time to let them eat dainty food or drink sake. Let faithful messengers be appointed to intimate this to the home provinces. And let the Kuni no Miyako of the provinces in every quarter choose good messengers to urge in accordance with the edict. Autumn, 8th month, 14th day. An edict was issued, saying, Going back to the origin of things, we find that it is heaven and earth with the male and female principles of nature, which guard the 4 seasons from mutual confusion. We find, moreover, that it is this heaven and earth which produces the 10,000 things. Amongst these 10,000 things, man is the most miraculously gifted. Among the most miraculously gifted beings, the sage takes the position of ruler. Therefore, the sage rulers, viz., the emperors, take heaven as their exemplar in ruling the world, and never for a moment dismiss from their breasts the thought of how men shall gain their fit place. Now as to the names of the early princes, the Omi, Mureji, Tomo no Miyako and Kuni no Miyako have divided their various bi and allotted them severally to their various titles. They afterwards took the various bi of the people and made them reside in the provinces and districts, one mixed up with another. The consequence has been to make father and child to bear different surnames, and brothers to be reckoned of distinct families, while husbands and wives have names different from one another. One family is divided into 5 or split up into 6, and both court and country are therefore filled with contentious suits. No settlement has been come to, and the mutual confusion grows worse and worse. Let the various be, therefore, beginning with those of the reigning emperor, and including those in the possession of the Omi, Mureji, etc., be, without exception, abolished, and let them become subjects of the state. Those who have become Tomo no Miyako by borrowing the names of princes, and those who have become Omi or Mureji on the strength of the names of ancestors, may not fully apprehend our purport, and might think, if they heard this announcement without warning, that the names borrowed by their ancestors would become extinct. We therefore make this announcement beforehand, so that they may understand what are our intentions. The children of rulers succeed one another in the government of the empire, and it is well known that the names of the actual emperor and of his imperial ancestors will not be forgotten by the world. But the names of sovereigns are lightly given to rivers and plains, or common people are called by them. This is a truly fearful state of things. The appellations of sovereigns, like the sun and moon, will float afar. The names of those of the imperial line will last forever, like unto heaven and earth. Such being our opinion, we announce as follows. Do ye all, from those of the imperial line down to the ministers, the Deibu, Omi, Mureji, and Tomo no Miyako, who do us service, all persons of whatever uji, give ear to what we say. With regard to the form of your service, we now abolish the former offices and constitute afresh the 100 bureaus. We shall, moreover, grant grades of rank and confer official dignities. Let the local governors who are now being dispatched, and also the Kuni no Miyako of the same provinces, give ear to what we say. In regard to the method of administration notified last year to the court assembly, let the previous arrangement be followed, and let the rice, lands which are received and measured be granted equally to the people, without distinction of persons. In granting rice, lands the peasants' houses should adjoin the land. Those whose houses lie near the lands must therefore have the preference. In this sense, receive our injunctions. In regard to commuted taxes, they should be collected from males. Laborers should be supplied at the rate of 1 for every 50 houses. The boundaries of the provinces should be examined and a description or map prepared, which should be brought here and produced for our inspection. The names of the provinces and districts will be settled when you come. With respect to the places where embankments are to be constructed or canals dug, and the extent of rice, land to be brought under cultivation, in the various provinces, uniform provision will be made for causing such work to be executed. Give ear to and understand these injunctions. 9th month. The Shitoko, Kiramero, Takamuko no Hakes, was sent to Silla to cause them to send a hostage. Ultimately, the tribute from Imna was discontinued. In this month, the emperor occupied the temporary palace of Kahadzu. In this year, the rats of the province of Koshi drew together in troops by night and day, and took their departure towards the east. AD 647. Third year, spring, first month, 15th day. There was archery at the court. On this day, Courier and Silla sent messengers together to offer tribute. Summer, fourth month, 29th day. An edict was issued as follows. The empire was entrusted, my children, in their capacity of deities, shall rule it. For this reason, this country, since heaven and earth began, has been a monarchy. From the time that our imperial ancestor first ruled the land, there has been great concord in the empire, and there has never been any factiousness. In consequence of this, the minds of the people of the whole country take a strong partisan bias, and conceiving a deep sense of the me and thee, hold firmly each to their names. Moreover, the feeble and incompetent Omi, Mureji, Tomo no Miyako and Kuni no Miyako make of such names their family names. And so the names of gods and the names of sovereigns are applied to persons and places in an unauthorized manner, in accordance with the bent of their own feelings. Now, by using the names of gods and the names of sovereigns as bribes, they draw to themselves the slaves of others, and so bring dishonor upon unspotted names. The consequence is that the minds of the people have become unsettled, and the government of the country cannot be carried on. The duty has therefore now devolved on us in our capacity as celestial divinity to regulate and settle these things. In order to make them understood, and thereby to order the state and to order the people, we shall issue, one after another, a succession of edicts, one earlier, another later, one today and another tomorrow. But the people, who have always trusted in the civilizing influence exercised by the emperors, and who are used to old customs, will certainly find it hard to wait until these edicts are made. We shall therefore remit to all, from princes and ministers down to the common people of all classes, the tax in lieu of service. In this year, Wagahori was pulled down and a palace built. The emperor, having taken up his residence in the palace of Wagahori, established a law for ceremonies, the regulations of which were as follows. All persons holding official rank must draw up in lines to right and left outside the south gate at the hour of the tiger, and wait there until the first appearance of the sun. They shall then enter the court, and having made their obeisances, shall attend in the hall. Those who come late will not be permitted to enter and take up their attendance. When the hour of the horse arrives, they shall retire when they hear the sound of the bell. The officer whose business it is to strike the bell shall wear a red apron. The bell stand shall be set up in the middle court. The engineer of the rank of Daisen, Aratawi no Harafu, Yamato no Aya no Atath, mistakenly dug a canal which he led to Naniha and thereby distressed the people. Upon this, someone presented a memorial of remonstrance, and the emperor made a decree, saying, "We unwisely gave ear to Harafu misrepresentations, and so dug this canal to no purpose. It is we who are to blame." That same day, the work was discontinued. Winter, 10th month, 11th day. The emperor made a progress to the hot baths of Arima. He was accompanied by the Oho, Omi of the right and left, and by the other ministers and Debu. 12th month, last day. The emperor returned from the hot baths and stayed in the temporary palace of Muko. On this day, the palace of the Prince Imperial took fire, to the great marvel of the people of that time. In this year, there were instituted caps of 7 kinds and 13 grades. The first was called Shoku Kwan. Of this there were 2 grades, the greater and the lesser. It was made of woven stuff and embroidered on the borders. The color of the clothing was in both cases dark purple. The second was called Shu Kwan. Of this there were 2 grades, the greater and the lesser. It was made of embroidered stuff. The border of the cap and the color of the clothing was the same as for the Shoku Kwan. The third was called Shi Kwan. Of this there were 2 grades, the greater and the lesser. It was made of purple material, with a border of woven stuff. The color of the clothing was light purple. The 4th was called kin kwan. Of this there were 2 grades, the greater and the lesser. The greater kin kwan was made of dye haku sen brocade and had the cap border of woven stuff. The lesser kin kwan was made of sho haku sen brocade and had the cap border of dye haku sen brocade. The color of the clothing was in both cases true dark red. The 5th was called sei kwan and was made of blue silk. Of this there were 2 grades, the greater and the lesser. The greater sei kwan had a border of dye haku sen brocade. The color of the clothing was in both cases deep violet. The 6th was called kok kwan and was made of black silk. Of this there were 2 grades, the greater and the lesser. The greater kok kwan had a border of wheel pattern brocade. The lesser kok kwan had a border of diamond pattern brocade. The color of the clothing was in both cases green. The 7th was called kembu. It was made of black silk and had a border of dark violet. In addition to the above there were to kwan, made of black silk. These caps had varnished gauze stretched behind. Distinctions of rank were indicated by the border and the hair ornaments. The latter were in shape like a cicada. The hair ornaments of the grades from the lesser kin, kwan upwards, were of a combination of gold and silver. The hair ornaments of the greater and lesser sequin were made of silver. The hair ornaments of the greater and lesser kok, kwan were made of copper. The kembu caps had no hair ornaments. These caps were worn at grand assemblies, when foreign guests were entertained, and at the mager feasts of the 4th month and 7th month. Silla sent Kim Ch. a superior minister of the rank of Greater Asan, and others to accompany the Hakes, Takamuko no Kuramaro of Shitoko rank, and Ashikuma Nakatomi no Mureji of Middle Shosen rank, and bring a present to the emperor of a peacock and a parrot. Ch. was made a hostage. He was a handsome man who talked and smiled agreeably. The Nutari barrier was constructed, and a barrier settlement established. Old men talked to one another, saying, "The migration of the rats towards the east some years ago prefigured the making of this barrier." AD 648. 4th year. Spring, 1st month, 1st day. The ceremony of New Year congratulations took place. In the evening, the emperor proceeded to the palace of Toyosaki in Naniha. 2nd month, 1st day. Student priests were sent to Korea. 8th day. The Oho, Omi Abe invited the 4 classes to the temple of Shitnoji, where, having brought in 4 images of Buddha, he had them enshrined within the pagoda. He constructed a figure of the wondrous vulture mountain, which he made by piling up drums on one another. Summer, 4th month, 1st day. The old caps were discontinued. The Oho, Omi of the left and right, however, continued to wear the old caps. This year Silla sent envoys bearing tribute. The barrier of Ihabune was put to rights as a precaution against the Yamishi. Eventually, subjects from the provinces of Koshi and Shinano were selected, and a barrier settlement for the first time established. AD 649. 5th year. Spring, 1st month, 1st day. The New Year congratulations took place. 2nd month. And the Buddhist priest Bin to establish 8 departments of state and 100 bureaus. 3rd month, 17th day. Abe's Nooho, Omi died. The emperor proceeded to the Shujaku gate, where he raised up lamentations for him and showed much emotion. The Empress Dowager, the Prince Imperial, and the other princes, together with the ministers of every rank, all, following his example, mourned and lamented. 24th day. Hyuga Soga no Omi Musashi, slandered the Oho, Omi Kura Yamada to the Prince Imperial, saying, Maro, thy servant elder brother by a different mother, is watching the opportunity of the Prince Imperial making an excursion to the seaside in order to do him a mischief. He will ere long commit treason. The Prince Imperial believed this. The Emperor sent Ohatomo no Kamano Mureji, Mikuni no Maro no Kimi, and Hatsumi no Kurafu no Omi to the Oho, Omi, Kura Yamada no Maro, and questioned him as to the truth of the charge of treason. The Oho, Omi answered and said, I will have a personal interview with the Emperor, and shall then answer to the charge brought against me. The Emperor again sent Mikuni no Maro no Kimi and Hatsumi, Kurafu no Omi, to investigate the circumstances of the treason. The Oho, Omi Maro, again answered as before. The Emperor was therefore about to raise an armed force and surround therewith the Oho, Omi house, when the Oho, Omi, taking with him his 2 sons, Hoshi and Akagoma, fled by way of Chinu towards the boundary of the province of Yamato. Before this, Koshi, the Oho, Omi eldest son, was already staying in Yamato, where he was building the temple. Now being suddenly apprised that his father was coming thither in flight, he went out to meet him at the great Tsuki tree in Amaki. Having approached, he took the lead and entered the temple. Then he looked back to the Oho, Omi and said, Koshi desires to advance straight on in person and oppose the army which is coming. But the Oho, Omi would not allow it. That night, Koshi conceived the idea of burning the palace and went on assembling troops. 25th day. The Oho, Omi addressed his eldest son Koshi, saying, Dost thou love thy life? Koshi answered and said, I love it not. The Oho, Omi thereupon harangued the priests of the Yamada temple, his eldest son Koshi and some 10 of other persons, saying, Shall one who is in the position of vassal contrive treason against his lord? Shall the duty of a son to a father be brought to nothing? This temple was originally built, not for me personally, but under a vow for the sake of the emperor. I have now been slandered by Musashi, and I fear that I shall be unjustly put to death. With so near a prospect of the Yellow Springs, I would withdraw still cherishing fidelity in my bosom, and the object of my coming to this temple is that my last moments may be made easier. When he had done speaking, he opened the door of the Buddha hall and uttered a vow, saying, In all future births and existences, let me not have resentment against my sovereign. When he had made this vow, he strangled himself and died. His wife and children, to the number of 8 persons, sacrificed themselves with him. On this day, Oho Tomo no Koma no Mureji and Soga no Hyuga no Omi were sent as generals in command of a body of troops to pursue the Oho, Omi. General Ohatomo no Mureji and his colleague had gone as far as Kuroyama when Mu, Hashi no Mureji, and Omamero, Unime no Omi, came running from the Yamada temple and brought information that the Oho Omi Soga, with his 3 sons and 1 daughter, had already committed suicide together by strangulation. The generals therefore returned from Tajihi no Saka. 26th day. The wife, children, and personal attendants of the Oho Omi Yamada, who committed suicide by strangulation, were many. Kurafu, Hatsumi no Omi, arrested in a body the Oho Omi people, viz. Tsukashi, Taguchi no Omi, and others, placed kangs round their necks and tied their hands behind their backs. That night Maro, Kai no Omi, Hyuga, Soga no Omi, and Kurafu, Hatsumi no Omi, having surrounded the temple with an armed force called Shiho, Mononobe no Futsuda no Miyako, and ordered him to cut off the Oho Omi head. Upon this Futsuda no Shiho drew his sword, raised up the body on its point, yelled and reviled, and then cut it off. 30th day. They were executed as implicated with the Oho Omi, Soga no Yamada, Tsukashi, Taguchi no Omi, Mimanashi no Ditoko, Takada no Shikao, Nukadabe no Yumasu no Mureji, Hada no Adura, and others, 14 persons in all. 9 were strangled, and 15 banished. In this month, messengers were sent to take over the property of the Oho, Omi, Yamada. Among his property was a beautiful book with the inscription, "Book belonging to the Prince Imperial," and a valuable object inscribed, "Property of the Prince Imperial." When the messengers returned and reported the circumstances of their having taken over the property, the Prince Imperial recognized for the first time that the heart of the Oho, Omi, had remained pure and unspotted. He was seized with shame and remorse for the past, and bewailed his fate incessantly. Hyuga no Omi was accordingly appointed viceroy of Tsukushi. The people of the time said to one another, "Is not this a disguised banishment?" When Soga no Miyako Haim, consort of the Prince Imperial, heard that her father the Oho, Omi, had been decapitated by Shiho, she took it deeply to heart and grieved bitterly. She detested hearing Shiho's name mentioned, and so her personal attendants, whenever they had occasion to speak of salt, altered the word and called it katashi. At last Miyako Haim died of a broken heart. When the Prince Imperial heard that she had passed away, he was grieved and deeply shocked, and bewailed her loss exceedingly. Upon this Mitsu, Nanaka Kahara no Fubido, came forward and presented verses of poetry as follows. On a mountain stream 2 mandarin ducks there be, well matched together. But the wife who is a like mate for me, who is it that has taken away? This was the first verse. Though on every tree the flowers are blooming, how can it be that my darling wife does not blossom again? This was the second verse. The Prince Imperial, with a sigh of deep despair, praised the verses, saying, "How beautiful, how pathetic." So he gave him his lute and made him sing them. He also presented him with 4 hiki of silk, 20 tan of cloth, and 2 bags of floss silk. Summer, 4th month, 20th day. Kos no Takodako no Omi, of Shoshi rank, was granted the rank of Daishi, and was made Oho, Omi of the left. Ohatomo no Nagatoko no Mureji of Shoshi rank, was granted the rank of Daishi, and was made Oho, Omi of the right. 5th month, 1st day. Shikafu Miwa no Kimi, of lower Shakwa rank, Tsunamaro, Harehibe no Mureji of upper Daisen rank, and others were sent to Silla. This year, the Queen of Silla sent Kimta Sia, Sa son of Sa Turk Pu, as hostage. He had a suite of 30 persons. 1 Buddhist priest, 2 Si Rang, 1 assistant, 1 usher, 5 Chung Kek, 10 artists, 1 interpreter, and 16 servants of various kinds, in all 37 persons. AD 650. Hakuchi, 1st year, spring, 1st month, 1st day. The imperial chariot proceeded to the palace of Ajafu, where the emperor viewed the ceremonies of the New Year congratulations. On this day, the imperial chariot returned to the palace. 2nd month, 9th day. Further inquiry was made of the Buddhist priests, who answered and said, "With our ears we have not heard, nor with our eyes have we seen such. May it please your majesty to order a general amnesty, and so give joy to the hearts of the people." The priest Dodo said, "At one time Courier desired to build a Buddhist temple. There was no place which was not examined for this purpose. Then in a certain place, a white deer was seen quietly moving, and eventually a temple was built on the spot. It was called the Temple of the Park of the White Deer, and the practice of the Buddhist law was there permanently established. Again, a white sparrow was seen at the farmstead of a certain temple. The people of the country all said that it was a good omen. Moreover, envoys sent to Great Thang brought back a dead crow with 3 legs. The people of the country again said that this was a good omen. Though these things are trifles, yet they are deemed a favorable omen. Much more is this so in the case of a white pheasant. The priest Bin said, "This is to be deemed a lucky omen, and it may reasonably be accounted a rare object. I have respectfully heard that, when a ruler extends his influence to all 4 quarters, then will white pheasants be seen. They appear, moreover, when a ruler's sacrifices are not in mutual disaccord, and when his banquets and costumes are in due measure. Again, when a ruler is of frugal habits, white pheasants are made to come forth on the hills. Again, they appear when the ruler is sage and humane. In the time of the Emperor Cheng Wang of the Chu dynasty, the Yue Shang family brought and presented to the emperor a white pheasant, saying, "We were told by the old men of our country, what a long time it has been since there have been any exceptional storms or long, continued rains, and that the great rivers and the sea have not surged up over the land. 3 years have now elapsed. We think that in the central land there is a sage. Would it not be well to go and pay your respects at his court? We have therefore come, having tripled our interpreters." Again, in the first year of Hin, Ning in the reign of Wu Ti of the Tsin dynasty, one was seen in Sung Tishi. This is accordingly a favorable omen. A general amnesty ought to be granted. Upon this, the white pheasant was let loose in the garden. 15th day. The array of guards at court was like that on the occasion of a New Year reception. The Oho, Omi of the right and left, and all the functionaries formed 4 lines outside of the purple gate. Ihimushi, Ahata no Omi, and 3 others were made to take the pheasant litter and move off ahead, while the Oho, Omi of the right and left at the head of all the functionaries, and Feng, Chiang, Lord of Pekshe, his younger brother Si, Seung, Ch Hyung, Seung, the physician to the king of Courier by name Mo, Chhi, the scholar attached to the court of Silla, and others advanced into the central court. These 4 men viz. Maro Mikuni no Kimi, Takami, Wina no Kimi Mikaho, Miwa no Kimi, and Maro Kita, Kai no Omi, taking up the pheasant litter in turn, advanced in front of the hall. Then the Oho, Omi of the right and left approached and held the litter by the forward end. The Prince of Ise, Maro, Mikuni no Kimi, and Wagyuso, Kura no Omi, took hold of the hinder end of the litter and placed it before the imperial throne. The emperor straightway called the Prince Imperial, and they took it and examined it together. The Prince Imperial, having retired, made repeated obeisances and caused the Oho Omi Kos to offer a congratulatory address, saying, "The ministers and functionaries offer their congratulations. Inasmuch as your majesty governs the empire with serene virtue, there is here a white pheasant, produced in the western region. This is a sign that your majesty will continue for 1,000 autumns and 10,000 years peacefully to govern the great 8 islands of the 4 quarters. It is the prayer of the ministers, functionaries, and people that they may serve your majesty with the utmost zeal and fidelity." Having finished this congratulatory speech, he made repeated obeisances. The emperor said, "When a sage ruler appears in the world and rules the empire, heaven is responsive to him and manifests favorable omens. In ancient times, during the reign of Cheng Wang of the Chu dynasty, a ruler of the western land, and again in the time of Ming Ti of the Han dynasty, white pheasants were seen. In this our land of Japan, during the reign of the Emperor Hamuda, a white crow made its nest in the palace. In the time of the Emperor Oho, Sasaki, a dragon horse appeared in the west. This shows that, from ancient times until now, there have been many cases of auspicious omens appearing in response to virtuous rulers. What we call phoenixes, unicorns, white pheasants, white crows, and such like birds and beasts, even including herbs and trees, in short all things having the property of significant response, are favorable omens and auspicious signs produced by heaven and earth. Now that wise and enlightened sovereigns should obtain such auspicious omens is meet and proper. But why should we, who are so empty and shallow, have this good fortune? It is no doubt wholly due to our assistants, the ministers Omi, Mureji, Tomo no Miyako, and Kuni no Miyako, each of whom, with the utmost loyalty, conforms to the regulations that are made. For this reason, let all, from the ministers down to the functionaries, with pure hearts reverence the gods of heaven and earth, and one and all accepting the glad omen, make the empire to flourish." Again he commanded, saying, The provinces and districts in the four quarters having been placed in our charge by heaven, we exercise supreme rule over the empire. Now in the province of Anato, ruled over by our divine ancestors, this auspicious omen has appeared. For this reason, we proclaim a general amnesty throughout the empire and begin a new year, period, to be called Haku, Kai. Moreover, we prohibit the flying of falcons within the limits of the province of Anato. Presents were made to the ministers, dabu and officials of lower rank down to the clerks, varying in value according to their rank. Hereupon the local governor, Shikafu, Kusakabe no Muraji, was commended and granted the rank of Daisen, together with liberal presents. The commuted taxes and corvées of Anato were remitted for 3 years. Summer, 4th month. Silla sent envoys to offer tribute. One book says, in the reign of this emperor, the 3 countries of Koryar, Pekshe, and Silla sent envoys bearing tribute every year. Winter, 10th month. In respect of the tombs which had been demolished in order to include the ground in a site for a palace, and of the people who had been made to remove for the same purpose, presents were given, varying in value. This having been done, the chief builder Hirafu, Aratawi no Atai, was sent to set up the boundary posts of the palace. In this month, the construction was begun of an embroidery figure of Buddha 16 feet in height with its attendant Basatsu, and of figures of beings of the 8 classes, 6 figures in all. In this year, Ohigachi, Ayano Yamaguchi no Ata, in obedience to an imperial order, carved 1,000 images of Buddha. Agata, Yamato no Aya no Ata, Abumi, Shurigabe no Muraji, and Agura, Naniha no Kishi, were sent to the province of Aki to build 2 Pekshe ships. AD 651. Second year, spring, 3rd month, 14th day. The 16 feet high embroidery figure of Buddha and the others were finished. 15th day. The Empress Dowager invited the 10 Buddhist professors and prepared a mager entertainment for them. 6th month. Pekshe and Silla sent envoys to bring tribute and to offer presents. Winter, 12th month, last day. More than 2,100 priests and nuns were invited to the palace of Ajifu and made to read the Iseikaio. Upon this, the emperor removed his residence from Oho, Gohori, to the new palace. It received the name of the Palace of Naniha, no Nagara no Toyosaki. This year the Silla tribute, envoys, Kai Man, of Sa's sun rank, and his companions anchored at Tsukushi, wearing garments of the Thang country. The government, disgusted at this wanton change of habit, reproved them and drove them back again. At this time Kos no Oho, Omi addressed the emperor, saying, if we do not give a blow to Silla at this present time, we shall certainly have to regret it afterwards. Now, as to the manner of giving a blow to Silla, we can do so without raising a sword. From the port of Naniha, as far as Tsukushi, let the surface of the sea be covered with ships, one touching another. Then if Silla be summoned and called to an account for her offenses, it will be easy for us to gain our object. AD 652. 3rd year, spring, 1st month, 1st day. When the New Year ceremonies were over, the imperial chariot proceeded to the palace of Oho, Gohori. From the 1st month to the 2nd month, the distribution of rice, lands had been brought to a close. As to the length of the rice, fields 30 paces made a tan, and 10 tan a cho. The tax, rice was 1 sheaf and a half per tan, or 15 sheaves per cho. 3rd month, 9th day. The imperial chariot returned to the palace. Summer, 4th month, 15th day. The shaman, Yi Un, was invited to the interior of the palace and made to explain the Muryojiu Sutra. The shaman Yi Jai was made lecturer, and 1,000 shaman were constituted the audience. 20th day. The explanations was discontinued. From this day forward rain began to fall continually, lasting for 9 days. It demolished buildings and destroyed the young rice plants in the fields. Many men, horses, and oxen were drowned. In this month, the registers of population were prepared. 50 houses were made a township, and for each township there was appointed an elder. The senior member of the family was always made the head of the household. The houses were all associated in groups of 5 for mutual protection, with one elder to supervise them one with another. Silla and Pekshe sent envoys to bring tribute and offer presents. Autumn, 9th month. The building of the palace was completed. It is impossible adequately to describe the appearance of the palace halls. Winter, 12th month, last day. The priests and nuns of the empire were invited to the interior of the palace and entertained with meager fare. Plentiful alms were given and lights kindled. AD 653. 4th year, summer, 5th month, 12th day. They were sent to Great Thang as chief ambassador, Kishi no Nagani of upper Shosen rank as associate ambassador, Kishi no Koma of upper Sho, Atsu rank, as student priests, Dojin, Datsu, Dakwo, Yes, Gakushu, Bensho, Yesho, Sanin, Chizo, Dosho, Joy, Adachi, and Dakwin as students, Kusuri, Kos no Omi, and Akina. Hai no Muraji in all 121 persons who sailed together in the same ship. Mita, Nanabara no Abido, was appointed as envoy to accompany them. Again, the chief ambassador Namero, Takada no Abido, of lower Daisen rank, and the associate ambassador Wamero, Kamori no Muraji of upper Sho, Atsu rank, with the student priests Dafuku and Jiko, in all 120 persons, sailed together in one ship. Yatsut, Hashi no Muraji, was appointed as envoy to escort them. In this month, the emperor visited the chamber of the priest Bin, inquired after his illness, and at length from his own mouth delivered his gracious commands. One book says, in the 7th month of the 5th year, the priest Bin took ill in the temple of Idzumi. Thereupon the emperor paid him a visit of inquiry, and taking him by the hand, said, "If your reverence dies today, we shall follow you in death tomorrow." 6th month. Pekshe and Silla sent envoys bearing tribute and offering presents. The highways of various places were repaired. The emperor was informed of the death of the priest Bin and sent a messenger of condolence and also numerous presents. The Empress Dowager, the Prince Imperial, etc., all sent messengers to offer condolences on the death of the priest Bin. Eventually, the emperor commanded Kamero, Koma no Takaib, a painter, with Fanato no Ata and others to make a large number of figures of Buddha and Bisatsu, to be placed in the temple of Kahara. Autumn, 7th month. Takada no Namero and his colleagues, the ambassadors sent to Great Thang, were drowned by the sinking of their ship in the gate of Takashima, off the coast of Satsuma. Only 5 men who lashed themselves to a plank floated ashore on the island of Takashima. They knew not what to do, until one of the 5, named Kadob no Kagen, gathered bamboos and made of them a raft, with which they anchored at the island of Shitoji Shima. These 5 men passed 6 days and 6 nights without any food whatever. Thereupon Kagen was complimented, advanced in rank, and presents given him. This year the Prince Imperial petitioned the emperor, saying, "I wish the imperial residence were removed to the Yamato capital." The emperor refused to grant his request. Upon this, the Prince Imperial took with him the Empress Dowager, the Empress Hashibito, and the younger imperial princes, and went to live in the temporary palace of Asuka no Kahebe in Yamato. At this time, the ministers and Dabu, with the various functionaries, all followed and changed their residence. The emperor resented this and wished to cast away the national dignity. He had a palace built in Yamazaki and sent a song to the Empress Hashibito, saying, "The pony which I keep, I put shackles on and let it not out. Can anyone have seen the pony which I keep?" AD 654. 5th year, spring, 1st month, 1st day. In the night, the rats migrated towards the Yamato capital. Nakatomi, no Kamatari, no Muraji was granted the Shikwen, and his fief increased by a number of houses. 2nd month, Tabe no Fubito and others. They embarked separately on 2 ships. Having delayed for several months, they proceeded by way of Silla and anchored at Leichu. At last, they reached the capital, where they had an audience of the emperor. Thereupon Qiu Wen Chu, superintendent of the guards of the Prince Imperial Palace, inquired particularly of them regarding the geography of the land of Japan and the names of the gods of the beginning of the country. To all which inquiries, suitable answers were given. The controlling envoy, Takamuku no Kuramaro, died in great thang. Yuki no Hakatoko says, the student priest Yemio died in Thang, Chizo died at sea, Chikoku died at sea, Chizo returned in a Silla ship in the year Kanoi Tora, Gakusho died in Thang, Gitsu died at sea, Joy returned in the year Kanoto Ushi in the ship of Liu Teikao, Mai, Hosho and the students Akina, Haino Muraji and Ko Wo gone, 12 persons in all with Kan Chiko and Cho Jempo of foreign Japanese birth, came back this year along with the envoys. Summer, 4th month. 2 men and 2 women of the land of Takara, and 1 woman of Esravasti, were driven by a storm to Hyuga. Autumn, 7th month, 24th day. Kishi no Nagani and his colleagues, who had gone as envoys to the Western Sea, anchored in Tsukushi with escorting envoys from Silla and Pekshe. This month, the emperor commended the envoys to the Western Sea for having had a personal audience of the emperor of the Thang country, and for having obtained numerous books and precious objects. He bestowed on the chief ambassador Kishi no Nagani, of upper Shosen rank, the lower grade of Shakwa rank, and granted him a fief of 200 houses with the name of the Kure House. On the associate ambassador, Kishi no Koma, of lower Sho, Atsu rank, there was bestowed the upper grade of the Shosen rank. Winter, 10th month, 1st day. The Prince Imperial, being informed that the emperor had taken ill, proceeded to the Naniha Palace with the Empress Dowager, the Empress Hashibito, and also accompanied by the younger imperial princes and the ministers. 10th day. The emperor died in the state bedchamber. He was temporarily interred in the southern courtyard. Ditoko, Mazu no Hashi no Muraji, of upper Shosen rank, superintended the business of the palace of temporary interment. 12th month, 8th day. He was buried in the Misasagi of Shinaga at Ohasaka. On this day, the Prince Imperial, accompanied by the Empress Dowager, changed his residence to the temporary palace of Kahebe in Yamato. Old people said, the migration of the rats to the Yamato capital was an omen of the transference of the capital thither. In this year, Courier, Pekshe, and Silla sent ambassadors of condolence. B. Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 26. The Empress Aami Tioyoti Kagare, Ikushi The Empress Aim Toyo, Takara Akashi, Hai Tarashi, Haim first married the Emperor Takabana no Tyohi grandson, Prince Takamuku, and bore to him the imperial Prince Aya. She was afterwards married to the Emperor Oki, Naga Tarashi, Hai Hiro Nuka, to whom she bore 2 sons and 1 daughter. In his 2nd year, she was raised to the rank of Empress, consort, as may be seen in the history of the Emperor Oki, Naga Tarashi, Hai Hiro, Nuka. In the 13th year of his reign, winter, the 10th month, the Emperor Oki Naga Tarashi, Hai Hiro Nuka died. In the 1st month of the following year, the Empress assumed the imperial dignity. In the 6th month of the 4th year of the new reign, she resigned the dignity to the Emperor Aim, Yoradzu Toyo, Hai, and was entitled Empress Dowager. The Emperor Aim, Yoradzu, he died in the 10th month of the later 5th year. A.D. 655. First year, spring, first month, third day. The Empress Dowager assumed the imperial dignity in the palace of Asuka no Itabuki. Summer, fifth month, first day. In the midst of the void, there was seen one riding on a dragon, who resembled a man of Thang in appearance. He had on a broad hat of green old stuff. He rode fast from the peak of Katsuraki and disappeared on Mount Ikoma. When it became noon, he galloped off over the firs of Sumiyoshi in a westerly direction. Autumn, 7th month, 11th day. They were entertained at the court of Naniha of the northern Yamishi 90, 9 persons, and of the eastern Yamishi 90, 5 persons. At the same time, entertainment was provided for 150 persons, who came as tribute envoys from Pekshe. Caps of honor, of 2 grades in each case, were bestowed on 9 Yamishi of Kakafu and on 6 Yamishi of Tsugaru. 8th month, first day. Maro, Kehib no Omi, and others returned from Great Thang. Winter, 10th month, 13th day. There was a palace in course of construction at Woharita, which it was intended to roof with tiles. But in the recesses of the mountains and on the broad valleys, much of the timber with which it was proposed to erect the palace buildings rotted. In the end, the work was put a stop to, and no building was erected. This winter, the palace of Asuka no Itabuki was burnt, and the empress therefore removed her residence to the palace of Asuka no Kahara. This year, courier, Pekshe and Silla sent envoys together to offer tribute. The Pekshe chief ambassador was Talsol of the Western Division, by name Y. Siu. The associate ambassador was an Yunsal of the Eastern Division, by name Tayo Sin In. There were over 100 persons altogether. Yamishi and Hayato, attended by a large number of followers, offered homage and came to court with presents for the empress. Silla sent specially me, Mu of Cupe, son rank as a hostage, and 12 men as skilled workmen. Me, Mu fell ill and died. This year was the year Kanoto U of the cycle. AD 656. Second year, autumn, 8th month, 8th day. Couriers sent Tal, Sa and others to offer tribute. 9th month. They were sent to courier as chief ambassador Hatsumi, Kashihide no Omi, and as associate ambassador Ihasuki, Sakahide no Mureji as senior hangman Shiramaro, Inugami no Kimi, as second-class hangman Kahachi no Fumi no Abaido, and as junior hangman Maro, Ohokura no Kinanuhi no Miyako. In this year, a fresh site for a palace was fixed upon at Asuka no Wakamoto. At this time, courier, Pekshe, and Silla together sent envoys to offer tribute. Dark purple curtains were drawn round this palace site for them, and they were entertained there. At last, the palace buildings were erected, and the empress removed into them. This palace was called the later Palace of Asuka no Wakamoto. Tamu Peak was crowned with a circular enclosure. Moreover, on the summit of the peak, close by where 2 tsuki trees grew, a lofty building was erected to which the name was given of the Palace of Fuda, Tsuki. It was also called a Matsumiya. At this time, public works were in favor. Navvies were employed to dig a canal from the western end of Mount Kaguyama as far as the mountain of Isu no Kami. 200 barges were loaded with stones from the Iso no Kami mountain and hauled with the current to the mountain on the east of the palace, where the stones were piled up to form a wall. The people of that day reviled the work, saying, "This mad canal, which has wasted the labor of over 30 men. This wall, building, which has wasted the labor of over 70 men. And the timber for the palace which has rotted. And the top of the mountain which has collapsed." Again they reviled, saying, "May the mound built at Iso no Kami break down of itself as fast as it is built." A palace was also built at Yashino. The ambassadors to the Western Sea, Takanaha, Saheki no Mureji, and Kunikatsu, Naniha no Kishi, of lower Shosen rank, with their companions returned from Pekshe and presented the Empress with a parrot. The palace of Wakamoto took fire. AD 657. Third year, autumn, 7th month, 3rd day. 2 men and 4 women of the land of Takara who had drifted to Tsukushi said, "We first of all drifted to the island of Amami." So they were sent for by post horses. 15th day. A model of Mount Sumi was constructed to the west of the temple of Asuka, Dara. Moreover, the festival of All Souls was held. In the evening, the people from Takara were entertained. 9th month. He went to the hot baths of Muro, under the pretense of treatment of disease. The Empress, hearing this, was rejoiced, and wished to go and visit it. This year envoys were sent to Silla with the following message. "We wish to send to Great Thang under the charge of your country, envoys the Buddhist priest Chitatsu, Mimumea, Hashibito no Mureji, and Wakugo, Yazami no Mureji." Silla refused to grant such escort, and therefore the Buddhist priest Chitatsu and his colleagues returned. The ambassadors to the Western Sea, Suratari, Idzumi no Mureji of lower Sho, Kwa rank, and Katsuma, Su no Omi of lower Shosen rank, returned from Pekshe. They brought presents for the Empress of 1 camel and 2 asses. The people of Ihami said that a white fox had been seen. AD 658. 4th year, spring, 1st month, 13th day. Kos no Tokuda no Omi, Oho, Omi of the left, died. Summer, 4th month. Abe no Omi went on an expedition against the Yamishi, in command of a fleet of 180 ships. The Yamishi of the 2 districts of Ada and Nashiro were struck with fear and tendered their submission. Hereupon, the ships were drawn up in order of battle in the Bay of Ada. A Yamishi of Ada named Amuka came forward and made an oath, saying, "It is not by reason of the arrival of the Imperial forces that we slaves carry bows and arrows, but because it is our nature to live upon animal food. If we have provided bows and arrows against the Imperial forces, may the gods of the Bay of Ada take note of it. We will serve the government with pure hearts." Amuka was accordingly granted the rank of Upper Sho, Atsu, and local governors were established in the 2 districts of Nashiro and Tsugaru. Ultimately, the Yamishi of Watari no Shima were summoned together at the shore of Arima, and a great feast provided them, after which they were dismissed home. 5th month. A grandson of the Empress named Prince Takaru died. He was 8 years of age. His remains were deposited in a temporary tomb, which was raised for him over the Amaki Valley. The Empress had always esteemed her grandson highly for his obedient conduct. She was therefore beside herself with grief, and her emotion was exceeding great. Sending for the ministers, she said, "After 10,000 years and 1,000 autumns, he must be interred along with us in our own Misasagi." So she made songs, saying, "On the hill of Wamur in Amaki, if but a cloud arose, plain to be seen, why should I lament?" This was the first song. "I never thought that he was young as the young grass, by the riverside, whither one tracks the deer wounded by an arrow." This was the second song. "Like the flowing water of the river Asuka, which surges as it flows, unceasingly I long for him." This was the third song. The Empress sang these songs from time to time, and lamented bitterly. Autumn, 7th month, 4th day. More than 200 Yamishi came to court with presents for the Empress. The entertainment, and largest to them, was on a more liberal scale than usual. 2 Yamishi of Kakafu received 1 grade of rank. Saniguna, the senior governor of the district of Nashiro, was made lower Sho. Atsu, the junior governor Yubasa, received the rank of Kembu, and 2 brave men received 1 grade of rank. In addition, there were given to Saniguna and the others 20 cuttle, fish flags, 2 drums, 2 sets of bows and arrows, and 2 suits of armor. Mamu, the senior governor of the district of Tsugaru, was granted the rank of Upper Dai. Atsu, Awohuru, the junior governor, the rank of Lower Sho. Atsu, and 2 brave men received a step in rank. In addition, there were granted to Mamu and the others 20 cuttle fish flags, 2 drums, 2 sets of bows and arrows, and 2 suits of armor. 2 grades of rank were conferred on the Miyako of the barrier of Tsukasara, and 1 grade on the hangman. In Idzumio Hatomo no Kimi, Miyako of the barrier of Nutari, received the rank of Lower Sho, Atsu. Moreover, Sanaguna, senior governor of the district of Nashiro, was commanded by the Empress to investigate the Yamishi population and the captive population. In this month, the Buddhist priests Chitsu and Chitatsu went by the Empress' command to Great Thang on board a Silla ship, where they received instruction from the teacher of religion, H. Suan, N.G., on the philosophy of things without life and living beings. Winter, 10th month, 15th day. The Empress visited the hot baths of Kai. The Empress, remembering her imperial grandson, Prince Takaru, grieved and lamented. She exclaimed, saying, "Though I pass over the mountains and cross the seas, yet can I never forget the pleasant region of Amaki. The first, with the harbor ebbing tide, as the sea goes down, with the darkness behind me leaving him, I must go, the dear one. My young child. Leaving him, I must go." The second, she commanded Mari, Hata no Oho, Kura no Miyako, saying, "Let these verses be handed down and let them not be forgotten by the world." 11th month, 3rd day. Soga no Ake no Omi, the official who had charge during the Empress' absence, addressed the Imperial Prince Arima, saying, "There are 3 faults in the Empress' administration of the affairs of government. The first is that she builds treasuries on a great scale, wherein she collects the riches of the people. The second is that she wastes the public grain revenue in digging long canals. The third is that she loads barges with stones and transports them to be piled up into a hill." The Imperial Prince Arima, recognizing Ake's friendly disposition towards himself, was gratified and replied, saying, "I have only now come to an age when I am fit to bear arms." 5th day. The Imperial Prince Arima proceeded to the house of Ake, where he went up into an upper story and conspired with him. A leg rest broke of itself. They both recognized Kyosoku, that this was a bad omen, and swore to one another to proceed no further. The Imperial Prince returned home, where he was staying for the night, when at midnight Ake sent Shibai, Mononobe no Yanoi no Mureji, in command of the laborers engaged in building the palace, to surround the Imperial Prince Arima in his house at Ikafu, and straightway dispatched a mounted courier to inform the Empress. 9th day. The Imperial Prince Arima, with Oho, Ishi, Mori no Kimi, Kusari, Sakahibe no Mureji, and Kanashiro, Shihoya no Mureji, were arrested and sent to the hot springs of Kai. His Tonri Yonmaro, Nyatabe no Mureji, followed him. Thereupon the Prince Imperial in person questioned the Imperial Prince Arima, saying, "Why didst thou plot treason?" He answered and said, "Heaven and Ake know. I do not at all understand." 11th day. Kunaizo, Tajihi no Wasaha no Mureji, was sent to strangle the Imperial Prince Arima at the Fujishiro acclivity. On this day Kanashiro, Shihoya no Mureji, and the Tonri Yonmaro, Nyatabe no Mureji, were executed at the Fujishiro acclivity. When Kanashiro, Shihoya no Mureji, was about to be executed, he said, "I request that my right hand may be made a national treasure." Oho, Ishi, Mori no Kimi, was banished to the province of Kamitsukanu, and Kusari, Sakahibe no Mureji, to the province of Wohari. One book says, the Imperial Prince Arima, with Ake, Soga no Omi, Kanashiro, Shihoya no Mureji, Oho, Ishi, Mori no Kimi, and Kusari, Sakahibe no Mureji, divined the future of their treasonous conspiracy by drawing slips of paper. one book says. The Imperial Prince Arima said, "First of all, we will burn the palace. Then with 500 men for a day and 2 nights, we will waylay at the harbor of Muro, and speedily with a fleet cutting off the land of Ahaji, make as it were a prison." This can be easily accomplished. Someone objected, saying, "It cannot be so. For all your plans, the faculty is wanting. At the present time, your Imperial Highness is only 19 years of age and has not yet attained to manhood. You must first reach manhood, and then you will gain the faculty." Another book says, when the Imperial Prince Arima was plotting treason along with a judicial officer, the leg of the Imperial Prince arm rest broke of itself without cause, but he did not cease from conspiring and was eventually executed. In this year, Hirafu, Abe no Hikida no Omi, warden of the land of Koshi, went on an expedition against the Sioux Shen. He presented to the emperor 2 live white bears. The Buddhist priest Chiyu made a south-pointing chariot. South-pointing chariot. South-pointing chariot. It was reported from the province of Izumo. On the shore of the northern sea, the fish are dying in heaps 3 feet in depth. In size, they resemble the globe fish. They have the beaks of sparrows and thorny scales several inches long. The common people say that they are sparrows which have gone into the sea and become changed into fish, and give them the name of sparrow fish. One book says, in the 7th month of the 6th year, Pekshe sent envoys with the following message to the Empress. Great Tang and Silla have joined their powers for an attack upon us. They have taken away as prisoners King Wicha, his queen, and the heir to the throne. Our government has therefore stationed troops on the north, western frontier, and repaired the fortifications as an indication that the mountains and rivers are blocked. Moreover, Tsuratari, Idzumi no Muraji, of lower Shakwa rank, who had gone as envoy to the Western Sea, returned from Pekshe and reported that Pekshe had returned after a successful expedition against Silla. At this time, a horse of his own accord went round the golden hall of a temple night and day without ceasing, and only stopping to graze. One book says, this was an echo of its destruction by the enemy in the year Kanoi Saru, AD 659. 5th year, spring, 1st month, 3rd day. The Empress arrived from the hot springs of Kai. 3rd month, 1st day. The Empress visited Yashino and held a banquet there. 3rd day. The Empress visited Hira, Yura, and Afumi. 10th day. The man of Takara with his wife, a woman of Esravesti, arrived. 17th day. A Mount Sumi was constructed on the river, bank east of Amakashi no Oka, and the Yamishi of Michinoku and Koshi were entertained. In this month, Abe no Omi was sent in command of 180 ships on an expedition against the Yamishi country. Abe no Omi assembled a selection of the Yamishi of the 2 districts of Akita and Nashiro to the number of 240, 1 persons with 30, one of their captives, 112 Yamishi of the district of Tsugaru with 4 captives, and 20 Yamishi of Ifurasa, in one place, feasted them and gave them presents. Accordingly, he made an offering to the gods of that land of a boat and silk stuffs of various colors, and proceeded to Shishiriko. Then 2 Yamishi of Tohyu, named Ikashima and Yuhona, came forward and said, "You ought to make Shiraibshi your seat of government." In accordance with the advice of Ikashima and his companion, a district governor was ultimately established there, after which he returned. The provincial governors of Michinoku and Koshi were each granted 2 grades of rank, while the district governors and administrators received each 1 degree. One book says, Hirafu, Abe no Hikida no Omi, fought with the Sioux Shen, and on his return presented to the Empress 49 captives. Autumn, 7th month, 3rd day. Ihashiki, Sakahibe no Muraji, of lower Shokin rank, and Kiza, Sumori no Muraji, of lower Daisen rank, were sent on a mission to the land of Thang. They took with them a Yamishi man and woman of Michinoku to show to the Thang emperor. In the writing of Hakatoko, Yuki no Mureji, it is stated, "In the reign of this empress, Sakahide no Ihashiki no Mureji, of lower Shokin rank, Sumori no Kiza no Mureji, of lower Daisen rank, and others in 2 ships received orders to go on a mission to Thang of Wu. In the year Tsuchinoto Hitsuji, the 7th month, and the 3rd day of the month, they started from the bay of Mitsu in Naniha. On the 11th day of the 8th month, they left the bay of Ohatsu in Tsukashi. On the 13th day of the 9th month, they arrived at an island on the southern border of Pekshe. The name of the island is not known. At 4 a.m. on the 14th, the 2 ships put out to sea in company. On the 15th day, at sunset, the ship of Ihashiki no Mureji met crosswise with a contrary wind and was driven to an island in the southern sea, named Kia Way, where it was destroyed by the islanders. Arima Yamato no Aya no Wosa no Ata, with Inidzumi, Sakahide no Mureji, and 3 others, stole a ship belonging to the islanders, and embarking in it, escaped to Kwa Chau. The officials of this district sent them under escort to the capital, Lo Yang. At midnight on the 16th day, the ship of Kiza no Mureji arrived at Mount Hsu, and near Kiwi, Kai in the Yue district, when a northeast wind sprang up and blew with such violence that on the 23rd they reached the district of Yu Yao. The great ship on which they were embarked, with all its gear, was left behind at this place, and on the 1st day of the 11th intercalary month, they arrived at the seat of government of the Yue district. On the 15th they entered the capital, riding on post horses. On the 29th, traveling with all speed, they reached the eastern capital, where the emperor had then his residence. The envoys answered respectfully, saying, "There are 3 kinds. The most distant are called Tsuguru, the next Ara Yamishi, and the nearest Nigi Yamishi." The emperor went on to say, "When we look at the unusual bodily appearance of these Yamishi, it is strange in the extreme. You envoys must have suffered greatly on your long voyage hither. Now retire and abide in your official residence. We shall meet again." On the 1st day of the 11th month, the festival of the winter solstice was celebrated at court. On the festival day, they again saw the emperor. Amongst the various frontier states who attended the court, the Japanese visitors were the most distinguished. Thereafter, by reason of the confusion caused by a conflagration, the matter was neglected and not further attended to. On the 3rd day of the 12th month, Kahachi no Ayano Ohamero, a servant of Han Kai, Hung, slandered our visitors, who were found guilty by the court of Thang and were already condemned to banishment. Previously Kai, Hung was banished to a distance of 3,000 li. Among the visitors was one, Hakatoko, Yuki no Mureji, who made representations to the emperor in consequence of which their punishment was remitted. When everything was concluded, the emperor decreed as follows: "This government has determined next year to take administrative measures in regard to the lands east of the sea, and you, the visitors from Wa, may not return to the east." In the end, they were detained in the western capital. They were placed in separate seclusion. Their door was closed and prohibited, and they had no liberty of movement. In such misery, they passed the year. The writing of Wabaido, Naniha no Kishi, says, "The chief envoy to Great Thang struck on an island and was overturned. The associate envoy had a personal audience of the emperor and showed him some Yamishi. Upon this, the Yamishi presented to the emperor a white deer, skin, 3 bows, and 80 arrows. 15th day. By a decree to the ministers, the empress had the Uraban Sutra expounded in all the temples of the capital, and requital made to the ancestors for 7 generations. In this year, the Kuni no Miyako of Izumo was commanded to repair the shrine of the Itsuki god. A fox bit off the end of a creeper, which a laborer of the district of Ao held in his hand, and went off with it. Moreover, a dog brought in his mouth a dead man hand and forearm, and laid it in the Ifuya shrine. Again, The courier envoys had a bear, skin on which they put a price of 60 pounds of floss silk. The market commissioner laughed and went away. A courier painter named Camaro, on the day on which he entertained guests of his own surname in his private house, borrowed 70 official polar bear skins for them to sit upon. The guests were ashamed and astonished and went away. AD 660. 6th year, spring, 1st month, 1st day. The courier envoys, the Yule, Xiang, Ha-Chi, Mun and his suite, numbering over 100 persons, anchored in Tsukushi. 3rd month. Abe no Omi was sent on an expedition with a fleet of 200 ships against the land of Su, Shen. Abe no Omi made some Yamishi of Michinoku embark on board his own ship. They arrived close to a great river. Upon this, over 1,000 Yamishi of Watari, Shima assembled on the seashore and made a camp facing the river. 2 men of this camp came forward and called out hurriedly, saying, "The Su Shen fleet has arrived in great force and threatens to slay us. We pray, therefore, to be allowed to cross the river and to serve the government." Abe no Omi sent a boat to go and fetch these 2 Yamishi, and inquired from them where the enemy were concealed and the number of their ships. The 2 Yamishi accordingly pointed out the place of their concealment, saying, "There are over 20 ships." Thereupon he sent messengers to summon them, but they refused to come. Abe no Omi accordingly heaped up on the beach colored silk stuffs, weapons, iron, etc., to excite their cupidity. The Su Shen people thereupon drew up their fleet in order, and tying feathers to poles, raised them aloft by way of flags. They approached with equal oars, and came to pause in a shallow place. Then from one of the ships, they sent forth 2 old men who went round the colored silk stuffs and other articles which had been piled up, examining them closely. They then changed the single garments they had on, and each taking up one piece of cloth in his hand, went on board their ship and departed. Presently the old men came back again, took off the exchanged garments, and laying them down along with the cloth they had taken away, went on board their ship and departed. Abe no Omi sent several ships to fetch them, but they refused to come and returned to the island of Hirobe. After some time, they asked for peace, but Abe no Omi refused altogether to listen to them. So they betook themselves to their own palisades and fought. At this time, Mamukatsu Nodo no Omi was slain by the enemy. While the battle was still going on and was not yet fought out, the enemy, finding that they were being beaten, put to death their own wives and children. Summer, 5th month, 8th day. The courier envoy, the Yule, Xiang, Ha-Chi, Mun and his suite arrived at the official residence of Naniha. In this month, the officials, by order of the Empress, prepared 100 raised seats and 100 noksa, and held a Ninwo Hanya meeting. Moreover, the Prince Imperial for the first time made a clepsydra, by which he caused the people to know the hours. Clepsydra. Clepsydra. Again, Abe no Hikita no Omi presented to the Empress more than 50 savages. Again, a Mount Sumi was built near the pond of Iso no Kami, as high as a pagoda. On this occasion, 47 men of Su Shen were entertained. Again, the people of the whole country carried arms without reason when passing to and fro on the highways. The old people of the country said, "This perhaps denotes the destruction of the land of Pekshe. Autumn, 7th month, 16th day." The courier envoy, the Yule, Xiang, Ha-Chi, Mun and his suite took their departure. Again, the man of Takara, Kenzu Hashi Tatsuya, desired to return to his native country and asked for an escort officer, saying, "I intend later to pay my respects to the court of the great country, and therefore, in token of this, I leave my wife behind." Accordingly, he took the way of the Western Sea with several tens of men. In the record of the reigns of Japan, written by the courier priest Tu Hyern, it is said, "In the 7th month, etc., Chiun Chiu, Kai, by the aid of the general-in-chief Su Ting Fang, caused Pekche to be invaded and destroyed. One account says, Pekche brought ruin upon itself, owing to the feminine want of principle of the royal consort, who arbitrarily usurped the helm of government and slew the wise and good, thus inviting the calamity which came upon them. Ought one not to be watchful? Ought one not to be watchful? In a note it is stated, Hiu, Kai of Silla, was unable to accomplish his wishes by the minister Ki Kim. Therefore he again served Thang, and putting off the national garb, made a fawning appeal to the Son of Heaven, with the object of bringing disaster on a neighboring kingdom and preparing the accomplishment of his ends. The writing of Hakatoko, Yuki no Muraji, says, in the year Kanoi Saru, the 8th month, Pekche was reduced to submission. After this, on the 12th day of the 9th month, the visitors were dismissed to their own country. On the 19th day, they started from the western capital. On the 16th day of the 10th month, they arrived back at the eastern capital, and then for the first time met Arima and his 4 companions. On the first day of the 11th month, the 13 royal persons captured by General Su Ting, Fang and his men, from the king of Pekche down to the crown Prince Nayang and others, with the prime minister Sa, Ch Hek, Ch Hyern, Pak Kuk, Hyern Seung, and others of lower rank, 37 persons, making in all 50 persons, were delivered up to the government. They were at once led before the emperor, who spoke kindly to them and released them on the spot. On the 19th, the emperor bestowed presents, and on the 24th we started from the eastern capital. 9th month, 5th day. Pekche sent a tall soul, the Buddhist novice, Kak Chayang, and others with the following message to the empress. In the 7th month of this year, Silla, relying on its strength and assuming a blustering attitude, picked a quarrel with its neighbor, and drawing the Thang people into it, overturned Pekche. Sovereign and ministers were all captured, and scarce a living soul was left. In one book it is said, on the 10th day of the 7th month of the present year, Su Ting Fang of Great Thang drew up the fleet under his command in the harbor of Mika, while Ch Hyun, Ch Hiu, Kai, king of Silla, with his horse and foot occupied Mount No Siu, Rai, and so they attacked Pekche from both sides. The fighting went on for 3 days. Our royal city was taken. On the 13th day of the same month, they began to demolish the royal city. Mount No Siu, Rai is on the eastern border of Pekche. Upon this Quiselpak, Sin, Yunsal of the Western Division, was mightily enraged, and betook himself to Mount Im Sia. Kai, while Yer Cha Chin, Yunsal of the Central Division, occupied the walled city of Kuminori. They each formed a camp, and assembled the scattered troops. Their weapons had become exhausted in the previous campaign, and therefore they fought with flails. The Silla army was beaten, and Pekche made booty of their arms, so that the Pekche weapons were as efficient as ever, and Thang did not dare to come in. Pak, Sin, and the others at length got together their countrymen, and with them held the royal city. The people of the land paid honor to them, saying, the minister Pak Sin, the minister Cha Chin. It was only Pak, Sin who, by the admirable military expedients which he invented, raised up the country, which was already ruined. Winter, 10th month. Quisel Pak, Sin, minister of Pekche, sent the minister Kwai, Kai and others with a present to the empress of over 100 Thang prisoners. These are now the men of Thang of the 2 districts of Fuha and Kata, Agata in the province of Nino. They also asked for troops and requested assistance. At the same time, they prayed that the Prince Yer Feng, Chiang, might be given back, saying, the men of Thang, leading after them our maggot pests, came and wasted and harassed our territory. They overturned our government and took prisoners our sovereign and his ministers. King Wicha of Pekche, his wife Yoon, Ko, his son Nayang, etc., and his ministers, viz. The Prime Minister, Ch Hyern Pak Kuk, Hyern Seung, Sun Tung, and others, over 50 persons in all, were captured by General Su on the 13th day of the 7th month, autumn, and sent away to the land of Thang. This was perhaps what was denoted by the causeless bearing of arms. Now the people of the land of Pekshe, putting their trust afar off in the emperor protecting care, have assembled together anew and formed a kingdom. We now humbly beg that we may be allowed to wait upon the Prince Feng, Qiang, who was sent by Pekshe to be in attendance at the celestial court, and to make him the ruler of the country, etc., etc. The empress made an order, saying, "We learn that in ancient times there have been cases of troops being asked for and assistance requested. To render help in emergencies, and to restore that which has been interrupted, is a manifestation of ordinary principles of right. The land of Pekshe, in its extremity, has come to us and placed itself in our hands. Their own country having been brought to ruin, having nowhere to betake themselves for help, and none to apply to, making spears their pillows, tasting gall, and holding firmly to the hope of aid, they have come from afar and made a memorial to us. Our resolution in this matter is unshakable. We shall give separate orders to our generals to advance at the same time by 100 routes, and then, like gathering clouds with thunderous commotion, meeting together at Sadurk to massacre the monsters and afford relief to the sufferers. Let the proper officials supply them with everything they require, and let them be dismissed with all due ceremony, etc., etc. Prince Feng, Qiang, with his wife and children and his uncle, Ch. Hyung, Seung, etc., were dismissed home. The actual time of their being sent off may be seen in year VII. One book says, the empress established Feng Qiang as king and made Xiang his assistant. They were sent off with all due ceremony, 12th month, 24th day. The empress proceeded to the palace of Naniha. The empress, in order to comply with the request of Pak, Sin, thought of going to Tsukushi and thence dispatching a force in aid, and she therefore went there in the first place and made provision of weapons of all kinds. This year, with a view to the invasion of Silla in the interest of Pekshe, an order was given to the province of Suruga to build a ship. When it was finished and had been hauled as far as Wamino, that ship, during the night without cause, changed its bow for its stern. By this people knew that in the end, there would be defeat. It was reported from the province of Shinano. A swarm of flies has flown in a westerly direction, crossing the Ohisaka Hill. It was 10 fathoms in thickness, and in height reached the azure sky. Some people gathered that this portended the defeat of the army of relief. There was a popular song which said, "The little rice field cultivated by my wife the wild geese devour, the wild geese of Maitoda, the woman rice field the wild geese devour. My eldest son and I make a noise the woman rice field the wild geese devour." AD 661. 7th year, spring, 1st month, 6th day. The Imperial ship, first put to sea for the expedition against the west. 8th day. The Imperial ship arrived at the Sea of Ohoku. At this time, the Imperial Princess Ohoda, Haim gave birth to a daughter, to whom accordingly the name was given of the Imperial Princess Ohoku. 14th day. The Imperial ship came to an anchor at the temporary palace of Nijitatsu, no Ishiyu, in the province of Iyo. 3rd month, 25th day. The Imperial ship returned to Yuna no Ohatsu, where the Empress occupied the temporary palace of Ihase, the name of which the Empress altered to Nagatsu. Summer, 4th month. Pak Sin of Pekshe sent an envoy to present a memorial requesting permission to wait upon their Prince Kaiju He. In the record of the reigns of Japan, written by the priest Tu Hyern, it is said, Pak Sin of Pekshe presented a writing in which he begged the Eastern court to give up his lord Kaiju He. One book says, in the 4th month the Empress transferred the capital to the palace of Asakura. 5th month, 9th day. The Empress removed her residence to the palace of Asakura, no Takebana no Hyerniha. At this time, trees belonging to the shrine of Asakura were cut down and cleared away in order to build this palace. Therefore the gods were angry and demolished the building. Some were also struck, and in consequence, the Grand Treasurer and many of those in waiting took ill and died. 23rd day. Tamna, for the first time, sent Prince A, Fa, Kai, and others with tribute. In the writing of Hakatoko, Yuki no Mureji, it is stated, "On the 25th day of the first month of the year Kanoto Torai, we arrived at Yue, Chao on our return journey. On the first day of the fourth month, leaving Yue, Chao, we proceeded homewards in an easterly direction, and on the 7th arrived south of Mount Siechang and Shan. On the 8th day at Kok, Crow we put out to sea with a south-west wind in our favor, but in mid-ocean we lost our way and tossed about, undergoing much suffering. On the 9th day at nightfall, we reached the island of Tamna with great difficulty. There we induced Prince A, Fa, Kai, and 8 other natives of the island to embark with us in the guest ship to the end, that we might present them to the imperial court. On the 23rd day of the 5th month, we presented them to the imperial court at Asakura. This was the first time that Tamna was received at court. Moreover, the envoys who had been slandered by Tarashima, Yamato no Ayanoata, a follower of Chihung, received no gracious command. These envoys were wroth, and their anger penetrated to the gods of high heaven, who with a thunderbolt killed Tarashima. The men of that day said of this, "The divine vengeance of Yamato is near." 6th month. Prince Ise died. Autumn, 7th month, 24th day. The Empress died in the palace of Asakura. 8th month, 1st day. The Prince Imperial, in attendance on the Empress remains, returned as far as the palace of Ihase. That evening, on the top of Mount Asakura, there was a demon wearing a great hat who looked down on the funeral proceedings. All the people uttered exclamations of wonder. Winter, 10th month, 7th day. The Empress funeral train returning, put to sea. Hereupon the Prince Imperial, having come to an anchor in the same place, was filled with grief and longing for the Empress. So he sung to himself, saying, "Longing as I do for a sight of thee, now that I have arrived here, even thus do I long desirous of a sight of thee." 23rd day. The funeral of the Empress, returning, anchored at Naniha. 11th month, 7th day. The Empress remains were temporarily interred at Asuka, Gahara. Mourning began on this day and lasted for 9 days. The record of the reigns of Japan says, the men of Thang, Su Shu Yen, and others, who were taken prisoners by Pak Sin, arrived in Tsukushi. One book says, in the year Kanoto Torai, the 106 Thang prisoners presented by Pak Sin, minister of Pekshe, took up their abode at Harita in the province of Afumi. Under the year Kanoi Saru, it is already stated that Pak Sin presented Thang prisoners. Therefore, it is now explained what was done with them. B. Nihongi, The Chronicles of Japan, Chapter 27. The Emperor Ame Mikoto Hirakasu Wake. The Emperor Ame Mikoto Hirakasu Wake was the eldest son of the Emperor Akinaga Terashi, Hai Hiro, Nuka. His mother was called the Empress Ame Toyo, Takara Akashi, Hai Terashi, Haim. In the 4th year of her reign, the Empress Ame Toyo, Takara Akashi, Hai Terashi, Haim resigned the dignity to the Emperor Ame Yoradzu Toyo, Hai, and established the emperor as Prince Imperial. The Emperor Ame Yoradzu Toyo, Hai died in the 10th month of his later 5th year. In the following year, the Empress Dowager assumed the imperial dignity. She died in the 7th year of her reign, on the 24th day of the 7th month. The Prince Imperial, clad in white garments, discharged the functions of government. In this month, General Su, the Turkic Prince Chipikiali, and others proceeded by 2 routes, land and sea, as far as the courier walled city. The Prince Imperial removed his residence to the palace of Nagatsu, where by degrees he attended to the organization of the foreign war. In the 8th month, he sent the generals of the front division, Idzumi no Hirafu no Mureji, of lower Daikwa rank, and Kahebe no Momoi no Omi, of lower Shakwa rank, and the generals of the rear division, Abe no Haikta no Hirafu no Omi, of lower Daikwa rank, Kuma, Mononobe no Mureji of upper Daisen rank, and Oho, Ishii, Mori no Kimi of upper Daisen rank to the assistance of Pekshe. He also sent arms and grain. Another book adds here, he sent separately Ajimasa, Sawi no Mureji of lower Daisen rank, and Tekutsu, Hada no Miyako of lower Shosen rank for the protection of Pekshe. 9th month. The Prince Imperial, while having his court at the palace of Nagatsu, conferred a cap of woven stuff on Feng, Ch-Yang, the Pekshe prince. Moreover, he gave him to wife the younger sister of Kamishiki, Oho no Omi. He accordingly sent Ajimasa, Sawi no Mureji, of lower Daisen rank, and Tekutsu, Hada no Miyako, in command of a force of more than 5,000 men to escort him to his own country. Cloud Chariot. Cloud Chariot. Now when Feng, Ch-Yang arrived in his country, Pak, Sin came to meet him, and bowing his head to the ground, delivered to him the government of the land, entrusting to him everything without exception. 12th month. Information was received from courier that in this 12th month, the cold in that country was so intense that the river Phi, Kang, was frozen. Therefore the Thang army made an uproar with drums and gongs, cloud, chariots, and battering engines. The courier troops were brave and stalwart, and therefore Ray took 2 of the Thang forts. There were only 2 left, which they prepared to take by a night attack. The Thang soldiers, nursing their knees, wept aloud. But their arms were blunted and their strength exhausted, so that they were unable to take them. If this is not a case of naval, biting disgrace, what is? The priest Tu Hyern says, to describe the intentions of Ch Hyun, Ch Hyu, he was really about to begin with battering engine. Battering engine, courier, and he first made it known to Pekshe. The close attack of Pekshe was exceedingly urgent and distressing, therefore it is so stated. In this year Maro, Kishida no Omi, governor of the province of Harima, and others, presented a precious sword, saying, it was found in a hole in the millet field of a man of the district of Saya. Moreover, when the generals for assisting courier cast anchor at the beach of Kafari in Pekshe, they lit a fire. The ashes became changed and formed a hole, from which there issued a thin noise like that of a sounding arrow. Some said that this was an omen of the ultimate downfall of courier and Pekshe. AD 662. First year, spring, 1st month, 27th day. A grant was made to the Quisel Pak, Sin, minister of Pekshe, of 100 arrows, 500 kin of raw silk, 1,000 kin of floss silk, 1,000 tan of cloth, 1,000 hides of leather, and 3,000 koku of seed rice. 3rd month, 4th day. The emperor presented to the king of Pekshe 300 tan of cloth. In this month, the men of Thang and the men of Silla invaded Courier. Courier asked aid from our government, and generals were sent, who occupied the walled city of Sanyu. Owing to this, the men of Thang were unable to conquer the southern territory, while Silla was prevented from overthrowing the fortresses to the west. Summer, 4th month. A rat brought forth young in a horse tail. The Buddhist priest Toyern divined, saying, the men of the north are about to attach themselves to the southern country. Perhaps that courier, being beaten, would become a vassal of Japan. 5th month. The general-in-chief, Idzumi no Hirafu no Muraji, of lower Dakin rank, and others in command of a fleet of 170 ships, escorted Feng, Ch-Yang and his people to the land of Pekshe, where, by an imperial edict, he was made to take up the succession to the dignity. Moreover, a golden tablet was conferred on Pak Sin, his back was stroked, and he was praised and an honorary grant made to him. At this time Feng, Ch-Yang and his people, and also Pak Sin, received the imperial decree with their heads bowed to the ground, so that everybody shed tears. 6th month, 28th day. Pekshé sent the tall soul, Manchai, and others to offer tribute and bring presents. Winter, 12th month, 1st day. Feng Xiaoqiang of Pekshé, his minister Pak Sin, and others held council with Sawi no Mureji and Yechai no Takutsu, saying, "This Chayu Yu is far away from cultivated lands. The soil is unfertile, and there is no land suitable for agriculture or for the mulberry tree. It is simply a stronghold for defensive warfare. If we were to remain here long, the people would starve. We should remove to Phai Siang. Phai Siang is girt on the north and west by the rivers Ko, Nyern, and Tan, Kyurng, while on the south and east it is protected by deep mud and high earthworks. It is encompassed on all sides by rice fields, to which the rain, water is drawn down by cutting canals. Its produce of flowers and fruit is the fairest of all the 3 kingdoms of Korea. A source of food and clothing, it is a choice situation favored by the 2 first principles. It may be said that it lies low, but why should this prevent us from removing thither?" Upon this, Yechai no Takutsu alone stood forward and objected, saying, "The distance between Phai Siang and the position occupied by the enemy can be covered in 1 night march. This is extremely near. Should a surprise take place, regrets would be useless. Now starvation is a secondary matter. Destruction demands our first attention. The reason why the enemy do not now rashly approach is that Chayu Yu has taken advantage of a scarped hill by which it is thoroughly well fortified. The cliffs are high and the ravines narrow. This makes it easy to defend and difficult to attack. But if we occupied the low ground, how should the country have remained undisturbed up to this day?" In the end, they refused to listen to his remonstrances and made Phai Siang the capital. This year, in order to assist Pekshé, arms were put in order, ships fitted out, and stores of army provisions prepared. This year was the year Midzanoi and Yu of the cycle. AD 663. 2nd year, spring, 2nd month, 2nd day. Pekshé sent the tall soul, Kim Siu, and others to offer tribute. Silla men, wasted by fire 4 districts of the southern border of Pekshé. They also captured Anturk and other strong positions. This being so, the enemy were not far from Phai Siang, and this position became therefore untenable, so they came back again and occupied Chayu Yu in accordance with Takutsu policy. In this month, the minister Pak Sin sent up Su Shu, Yen, and other Thang prisoners. 3rd month. Wakyugo, Kamatsukanu no Kimi, and Ohabuta, Hashibito no Mureji, generals of the front division, Wosa, Kos no Kamusaki no Omi, and Nemaro, Miwa no Kimi, generals of the middle division, and Harafu, Abe no Haikda no Omi, and Kamatsuka, Ohthake no Omi, generals of the rear division, were sent in command of 70 men to invade Silla. Summer, 5th month, 1st day. Inugami no Kimi, who had hurried to courier to give information of warlike matters, on his way back saw Kayu, he at the walled city of Siang. Kayu, he accordingly told him of Pak Sin guilt. 6th month. Wakyugo, Kamatsukanu no Kimi, general of the front division, and the others, took 2 cities of Silla named Sapi and Kinakang. Feng Xiaoqiang, king of Pekshé, suspecting Pak Sin of harboring treasonous intentions, bound him with a leathern strap passed through his palms. But he was unable to come to a decision of himself and did not know what to do. So he inquired of his ministers, saying, "Pak Sin guilt has been so and so. Shall he be beheaded or not?" Upon this, the tall-souled Turk said, "This traitor ought not to be let off." Pak Sin forthwith spat upon Chip Turk and said, "Thou worthless dog. Thou idiotic slave." The king compelled his stout fellows to execute him and to put his head in pickle. Autumn, 8th month, 13th day. Silla, taking advantage of the king of Baekgang having put to death his own good general, laid plans to enter that country direct, and first of all to capture Chayu, Yu. Now Baekgang learnt the enemy plan and addressed his generals, saying, I now hear that Omi, Ihohara no Kimi, the auxiliary general of the land of Great Japan, in command of more than 10 stout fellows, is on the point of arriving hither by sea. I hope that you, my generals, will take such measures as are suitable in advance. I intend myself to proceed to Baekgang and give him seasonable entertainment. 17th day. The hostile generals arrived before Chayu, Yu, and encompassed the royal city. The Tang generals, in command of 170 fighting ships, drew up in line of battle in the Baekgang River. The Japanese warships which first arrived engaged the Tang fleet, but had not the advantage, and therefore retired. Great Tang stood on its guard in strict order of battle. 27th day. The Japanese generals and the Baekgang king, regardless of the aspect of affairs, said to one another, if we struggle which shall get first, they will naturally retire of themselves. So they again led forward the routed Japanese ranks and the troops of the middle division of their force to attack the great Tang fleet. But Tang closed upon their vessels from right and left and engaged them from all sides. In a short space of time, the Imperial force was defeated, and many fell into the water and were drowned. The ships were unable to maneuver either astern or ahead. Yechai no Takutsu looked up to heaven and made oaths. He gnashed his teeth, and in his rage slew several tens of men. He then fell fighting. At this time, King Feng, Chiang of Baekgang with a number of others, embarked in a ship and fled to Courier. 9th month, 7th day. Not until now did the Baekgang city of Chayu, Yu, surrender to Tang. Then the people of that country said to one another, Chayu, Yu has fallen, there is nothing more to be done. This day the name of Baekgang has become extinct. Shall we ever visit again the place where the tombs are? Let us, however, repair to the city of Ho, Nae, and meet there with the Japanese generals, so as to concert with them the measures required by the circumstances. In the end, the wives and children, who had from the first remained in the walled town of Chim, Pak, Kai, were informed of their intention to quit the country. 11th day. They set out from Yuho. 13th day. They arrived at Ho Nae. 24th day. The Japanese fleet, with the minister Yer Cha Sin, and the tall soul Mak So Kwai Cha Kong Na Chin Siu and Erng, Nae Pong Nayu, along with the people of the country, arrived at the city of Ho Nae. The next day they set sail, and at length bent their course towards Japan. AD 664. Third year, spring, 2nd month, 9th day. The emperor, by orders to the Prince Imperial, his younger brother, announced an augmentation and revision of the caps denoting official rank, and also an increase in the designations of the grades, as well as matters relating to the senior members of families, their vassals and domestic retainers. There were 26 grades of caps, viz. Dai Shiki Sho, Shiki Dai, Shu Sho, Shu Dai, Shi Sho, Shi Upper Dai, Kin Middle Dai, Kin Lower Dai, Kin Upper Sho, Kin Middle Sho, Kin Lower Sho, Kin Upper Dai, Sen Middle Dai, Sen Lower Dai, Sen Upper Dai, Atsu Middle Dai, Atsu Lower Dai, Atsu Upper Sho, Atsu Middle Sho, Atsu Lower Sho, Atsu Dai, Ken Sho, Ken. These made in all 26 grades. The former Kwa was changed to Kin, and 6 grades were added, beginning with Kin and ending with Atsu. There was also an augmentation and alteration, by which the single grade of initial rank was changed to the 2 grades of Dakin and Shokin. These were made different, but in all other respects the former rule was followed. To the senior members of the great families long swords were granted, and to the senior members of lesser families short swords were granted, while to the senior members of the Tomo no Miyako, etc., shields and bows and arrows were given. Moreover, their vassals and domestic retainers were settled. 3rd month, Prince Seorn, Kwang of Pekche, and his people were given a residence at Naniha. There was a star, which fell north of the capital. This spring there was an earthquake. Summer, 5th month, 17th day. Liu Jern Yuan, the general for Pekche, sent the Ko, San Ta Fu Q Wu Tiesung to present a letter, box, and gifts. In this month the Oho, Omi, Sogano Muraji of Taishi rank, died. One book says, the Oho Omi died in the intercalary 5th month, 6th month. The Empress Dowager Shima died. Winter, 10th month, 4th day. Q Wu Tiesung and his companions were dismissed home. On this day, the emperor ordered Nakatomi, no Najin, to send the Buddhist priest Kai Sho with presents for Q Wu Tiesung. 4th day. An entertainment was given to Q Wu Tiesung and his suite. In this month, Ki Kim, Prime Minister of Korea, died in that country. He left dying injunctions to his children, saying, "Ye brethren, live together in harmony as a fish and water, and do not compete with one another for rank. If you do not so, you will surely become a laughing stock to your neighbors." 12th month, 12th day. Q Wu Tiesung and his suite took their departure. In this month it was reported from the province of Ahaji, saying, "In the water of a pig trough belonging to Mu, Shinuda no Fumibido, a man of the district of Sakata, rice grew all of a sudden. Mu gathered it and put it by. Every day his wealth increased. There is a man called Oho, Ihaki no Tsukuri, of the district of Kuramoto, at the head of whose bride mattress rice grew up during her first night's stay with him and formed an ear. In the morning it bent down and ripened. The following night, another ear was formed. She went out into the courtyard, when 2 keys fell down from heaven before her. She took them up and gave them to Oho, who from this time began to be a wealthy man. In this year, guards and beacon, fires were placed in the islands of Tsushima and Iki, and in the land of Tsukashi. Moreover, in Tsukashi, a great embankment was constructed, and water collected. This was called a Minoki, or water, castle. AD 665. 4th year, spring, 2nd month, 25th day. The Empress Dowager Hashibito died. In this month, after a comparison of the Pekche degrees of official rank, there was granted to the Kwai Sil, Chipsa, in consideration of the eminent services of the minister Pak, Sin, the rank of lower Shakin. Moreover, Pekche common people, men and women to the number of more than 400, were given residences in the district of Kanzaki, in the province of Afumi. 3rd month, 1st day. For the sake of the Empress Dowager Hashibito, 330 persons entered religion. In this month, rice, lands were granted to the Pekche people of Kanzaki. Autumn, 8th month. The Talsul, Tappon, Ch. Hyan, was sent to build a castle in the province of Nagato. The Talsul, Nayarpong Nayo, and the Talsul, Sa Pai Pak, Pu, were sent to the land of Tsukashi, where they built the 2 castles of Ohono and Wyogi. Tamna sent ambassadors to the court. 9th month, 23rd day. The land of Thang sent Liu Ti, Kaukeo, San Ta Fu, sub-prefect of Iku, and Shang Chu, Kuo, and others. By others is meant a general of the right division of the guards, of the rank of Shang Chu Kuo, a general for Pekche, who was a Ko Ta Fu of Chu Q rank, by name Q Wu Tiesung, and others 250, 4 persons in all. 7th month, 28th day. They arrived at Tsushima. 9th month, 20th day. They arrived at Tsukashi. 22nd day. They forwarded a letter, case. Winter, 10th month, 11th day. A great review was held at Uji. 11th month, 13th day. A banquet was given to Liu Ter, Kao, and the others. 12th month, 14th day. Presents were made to Libyth, Kao and the rest. In this month, Libyth, Kao and his people took their departure. By others is meant Ihashiki, Sakahib no Muraji of Shozen rank, and Haruma Kimi no Kishi of Daiatsu rank. They no doubt went to escort the Thang envoys. AD 666. 5th year, spring, 1st month, 11th day. Courier sent Nu of the former division, and others to offer tribute. On this day Tamna sent Prince Ur and others to offer presents. 3rd month. The Prince Imperial went in person to the house of Saheki, no Kamaro no Muraji, to inquire of his illness. He lamented him on account of his loyal service from the beginning. Summer, 6th month, 4th day. Nu of Courier of the former division, and his people took their departure. Autumn, 7th month. There were great floods. This autumn the land, tax and commuted taxes were remitted. Winter, 10th month, 26th day. Courier sent the minister Yule, Xiang Chhu and others to offer tribute. The chief envoy, the minister Yule Xiang Chhu, the associate envoy Tun, of the rank of Tal Xiang, Ya Quang, Hyern Mu of the 2nd rank, and others. This winter the rats of the capital migrated towards Afumi. Over 2,000 Pekshe people, men and women, were settled in the East Country. Without distinction of black and white, they were all maintained at government expense for 3 years beginning with the year Mizunodo I. Chiyu, a Buddhist priest of the Yamato no Aya, presented to the emperor a south-pointing chariot. AD 667. 6th year, spring, 2nd month, 27th day. The Empress Aim Toyo, Takara Akashi, Hai Tarashi, Haim and the Imperial Princess Hashibito were buried together in the Misasagi on the Hill of Watch. On this day, the Imperial granddaughter, the Imperial Princess Ohoda, was buried in a tomb in front of the Misasagi. Courier, Pekshe and Silla all made mourning along the Imperial Highway. The Prince Imperial addressed the ministers, saying, "In obedience to the commands of the Empress Dowager and the Empress, I have compassion on the myriad people, and therefore have not undertaken the work of constructing a stone sarcophagus. I trust that this may be taken as a mirror and a lesson for all time." 3rd month, 19th day. The capital was removed to Afumi. At this time, the common people of the empire did not desire the removal of the capital. Many made satirical remonstrance, and there were also many popular songs. Every day and every night there were numerous conflagrations. 6th month. The district of Kadono presented to the emperor a white swallow. Autumn, 7th month, 11th day. Tamna sent the minister Churn Ma and others to offer presents. 8th month. The Prince Imperial proceeded to the Yamato capital. Winter, 10th month. Namseng, of Courier, the elder brother, left the city for a tour in the provinces. Upon this, his 2 younger brothers, who remained in the city, listening to the evil speeches of the gentry and nobles associated with them, opposed him and would not allow him to enter. Hereupon Namseng ran away to Great Thang and laid plans for the destruction of his country. 11th month, 9th day. Liu Zhen Yuan, the general for Pekshe, sent the prefect of Ung San in the governorship of Ung Chin, Shema Fatsung of Shang, Chu Q rank, and others to escort Ihashiki, Sakahib no Muraji of lower Daisen rank, and his companions to the governor, general residence in Tsukashi. 13th day. Shema Fatsung and his companions took their departure homewards. Hakatoko, Yuki no Muraji of lower Shozen rank, and Moroshi, Kasa no Omi of lower Daiatsu rank were made escort envoys. In this month there were built the castle of Takyasu in the province of Yamato, the castle of Yashima in the district of Yamada in the province of Sanuki, and the castle of Kanada in the province of Tsushima. Intercalary 11th month, 11th day. Churnma and his companions received presents of 14 hiki of brocade, 19 hiki of yuhata, 4 hiki of dark red stuff, 4 tan of violet cloth, 58 tan of peach dyed stuff, 26 axes, 64 sickles, and 61 swords. AD 668. 7th year, spring, 1st month, 3rd day. The Prince Imperial assumed the imperial dignity. One book says that he assumed the dignity in the 3rd month of the 6th year, the year Hinodo Yu of the cycle. 7th day. A banquet was given to the ministers within the palace. 23rd day. The escort envoys Hakatoko and his colleagues reported their mission. 2nd month, 23rd day. Princess Yamato Baime, daughter of the Imperial Prince Furubido no Ohoi, was appointed Empress Consort. In the end, 4 concubines were provided. One was the daughter of the Oho, Omi, Soga no Yamada no Ishikawa Mero, by name Wachi no Iratsum. She bore 1 son and 2 daughters. The first was called the Imperial Princess Ohoda. The second was called the Imperial Princess Uno. When she possessed the empire, she dwelt in the palace of Kiyomibara in Asuka. She afterwards removed the palace to Fujiwara. The third was called the Imperial Prince Takaru. He was dumb and could not speak. One book says, Wachi no Iratsum had 1 son and 2 daughters. The first was called the Imperial Prince Takaru. The second was called the Imperial Princess Ohoda. The third was called the Imperial Princess Uno. One book says, the daughter of the Oho, Omi, Soga no Yamada no Mero, was named Chinu no Iratsum. She bore the Imperial Princess Ohoda and the Imperial Princess Sarara. Next, there was the younger sister of Wachi no Iratsum, named Mehai no Iratsum. She gave birth to the Imperial Princess Minabe and the Imperial Princess Abe. When the Imperial Princess Abe possessed the empire, she dwelt in the palace of Fujiwara. She afterwards removed the capital to Nara. One book says, the name Sakurawi no Iratsum was given to Mehai no Iratsum. Next, there was the daughter of the Oho, Omi, Abe no Kurahashi Mero, named Hakibana no Iratsum. She gave birth to the Imperial Princess Asuka and the Imperial Princess Nidabe. Next, there was the daughter of the Oho, Omi, Soga no Ake, named Hitachi no Iratsum. She gave birth to the Imperial Princess Yame. There were also 4 palace women who bore sons and daughters. One was the daughter of Wotatsu, Washiami no Miyako, named Shikabuko no Iratsum. She had 1 son and 2 daughters. The first was called the Imperial Princess Ohoi. The second was called the Imperial Prince Kahijima. The third was called the Imperial Princess Aizumi. Further, there was the daughter of Tacoma, Kurakuma no Abido, named Kuroheim no Iratsum. She gave birth to the Imperial Princess Mamutori. Further, there was Michi no Kimi Iratsum, who was the mother of the Imperial Prince Shiki. Further, there was Yakako, Iga no Anime, who was the mother of the Imperial Prince Iga. He subsequently received the cognomen of the Imperial Prince Ohatomo. Summer, 4th month, 6th day. Pekshay sent me, to Sa, Pu, and others to offer tribute. 16th day. Me, to Sa, Pu, and his companions took their departure. 5th month, 5th day. The emperor hunted on the moor of Kamafu. At this time, the Prince Imperial, being the emperor's younger brother, all the princes, the inner minister and the other ministers were all without exception in his train. 6th month. The Prince of Ise and the prince, his younger brother, died on consecutive days. Their official rank is not clear. Autumn, 7th month. Couriers sent envoys by way of Koshi to offer tribute. The winds and waves were high, and they were therefore unable to return. Prince Kurakuma was appointed governor of Tsukushi. At this time, the province of Afumi practiced military exercises. Again, pasture farms were largely provided, and horses were let loose there. Again, the province of Koshi presented to the emperor burning earth and burning water. Again, by the shore pavilion, fish of various kinds came, covering the water. Again, the Yamishi were entertained. Again, the Tonri, by imperial command, held banquets in various places. The people of that time said, "Is the emperor life drawing to a close?" 9th month, 12th day. Silla sent Kim Tong, Wern of the rank of Sasson, and others to offer tribute. 26th day. Nakatomi no Neijin sent the Buddhist priests Hoben and Shimpitsu to present a ship to the Kak Yu Sin, Prime Minister of Silla. It was delivered to Tong, Wern and his companions. 29th day. Mimamaro, Fuse no Omi, was sent with a present for the king of Silla of a ship for the conveyance of tribute. It was delivered to Tong, Wern and his companions. Winter, 10th month. The Duke of Ying, the Thang commander-in-chief, destroyed Courier. When King Chiang, Mu of Courier, first established that kingdom, he wished his government to last for 1,000 years. His mother said, "If thou governest the country well, thou mayst accomplish this. However, it will last for just 700 years." The downfall of this kingdom at this time took place just at the end of its existence for 700 years. 11th month, 1st day. There were presented to the king of Silla 50 pieces of fine silk, 500 kin of floss silk, and 100 hides of leather. These were delivered to Tong, Wern and his companions. Presents were given to Tong, Wern and his companions, the value of which varied in each case. 5th day. Maro, Chimori no Omi, of lower Shosen rank, and Kishi no Washibai were sent to Silla. On this day, Kim Tong, Wern and his people took their departure. In this year, the Buddhist priest Dojio stole the Kusanagi sword and escaped with it, making for Silla. But wind and rain so perplexed him on his way that he came back again. AD 669. 8th year, spring, 1st month, 9th day. Soga no Ake, no Omi was appointed governor of Tsukushi. 3rd month, 11th day. Tamna sent Prince Kumaki and others with tribute. 18th day. A present of seed, grain was made to the king of Tamna. On this day, Prince Kumaki and his people took their departure. Summer, 5th month, 5th day. The emperor went hunting on the plain of Yamashina. The Prince Imperial, who was the emperor's younger brother, Fujihara no Neidejin, and all the ministers without exception followed in his train. Autumn, 8th month, 3rd day. The emperor ascended the peak of Takyasu. He took counsel as to a project of repairing the castle there, but in pity for the labor which it would entail on the people, he abandoned this idea and did not go on with the work. The people of that time appreciated this and exclaimed, saying, "This is the virtue of loving kindness." This autumn it thundered in the house of Fujihara no Neidejin. 9th month, 11th day. Silla sent the Sasson, Tak Yu, and others with tribute. Winter, 10th month, 10th day. The emperor paid a visit to the house of the Neidejin Fujihara and made personal inquiry after his illness. His grief was exceedingly great. Accordingly, he said, "It is surely no vain saying that the way of heaven helps goodness, nor is the principle that the accumulation of good actions redounds to happiness of no effect. If there is anything which can be done, you will inform me of it." He answered and said, "Thy servant has been wanting in cleverness. What more is to be said? Only I trust that for my burial simple arrangements may be made." The wise men of that day, hearing of this, were filled with admiration and said, We would humbly compare this one saying with the wise maxims of ancient sages. Shall the general of the great tree refusal of rewards be related in the same year with it? 15th day. The emperor sent his younger brother, the Prince Imperial of the Eastern Palace, to the house of the Neidejin Fujiwara, to confer on him the cap of great woven stuff and the rank of Oho Omi. He also granted him a surname and made him the house of Fujiwara. From this time forward, he was generally known as Fujiwara no Daijin. 16th day. Fujiwara no Neidejin died. The Nihon Seiki says, the Neidejin died at the age of 50 in his private residence. He was removed for temporary burial to the south of the mountain. Oh, cruel heaven, that could not bring itself to leave this aged man. Alas, what sorrow! The inscription on his tomb says that he died at the age of 56. 19th day. The emperor went to the house of Fujiwara no Neidejin, where he gave orders to Soga no Ake no Omi, of upper daikon rank, and declared to him his gracious will. He accordingly bestowed on him a golden incense burner. 12th month. There was a fire in the treasury. This winter, the castle of Takyasu was repaired. The land, tax of the home provinces, was collected. At this time, the temple of Ikaruga was burnt. This year Kyujira, Kahachi no Ata, of middle Shokin rank, and others were sent on a mission to the land of Great Thang. Moreover, the minister Yurcha, Sin, the minister Quissel Chip, Sa, and others, men and women, to the number of over 700 persons, were removed and settled in the district of Kamafu in the province of Ifumi. Moreover, Great Thang sent Kyuya, Tiasung, and others, more than 2,000 men. AD 670. 9th year, spring, 1st month, 7th day. The emperor, by command to the gentry and Debu, held a great archery meeting within the palace gate. 14th day. The emperor promulgated court ceremonial regulations and rules for people to give way to each other when passing along the roads. He also prohibited heedless slanders and foul falsehoods. 2nd month. Registers of population were prepared. Robbers and vagabonds were suppressed. At this time, the emperor visited the plain of Himo in the district of Kamafu and inspected a site for a palace. Moreover, the castle of Takyasu was repaired and stores of grain and salt collected. Moreover, 1 castle was built in Nagato and 2 in Tsukushi. 3rd month, 9th day. Close to Miui, on the mountain, Shinto places of worship were laid out and offerings of cloth distributed to them. The litany was pronounced by Nakatomi no Kane no Muraji. Summer, 4th month, 30th day. After midnight, a fire broke out in Horyuji. Not a single building was left. There was great rain with thunder. 5th month. There was a popular ditty as follows: to sport by the end of the bridge thrown across, come forth, my boy. To the 8-fold wooden doors of the house of Tamate, if thou comest forth, thou shalt not repent it. Come forth, my boy. To the 8-fold wooden doors of the house of Tamate. 6th month. Within the capital, a tortoise was caught. On its back was written the character for Saru. It was yellow above and black beneath, and was about 6 inches in length. Autumn, 9th month, 1st day. Suratari, Adzumi no Muraji, was sent to Silla. In this year water, mills were made, and therewith iron smelted. AD 671. 10th year, spring, 1st month, 2nd day. Soga no Ake no Omi, of upper daikon rank, and Kos no Hito no Omi, of lower daikon rank, advanced in front of the palace and offered their congratulations on the new year. 5th day. Nakatomi no Kane no Muraji, of upper daikon rank, made an announcement of kami matters. On this day, the Imperial Prince Ohitomo was appointed Dajidaijin. Soga no Ake no Omi was made Prime Minister of the left. Nakatomi no Kane no Muraji was made Prime Minister of the right. Soga no Hadyasu no Omi, Kos no Hito no Omi, and Kai no Ushi no Omi were made Deibu of the censorate. The Jioshi were perhaps what are now called Dainagen. 6th day. The Emperor's younger brother, the Prince Imperial, promulgated on his behalf the regulations for giving effect to the institution of cap rank. There was a general amnesty to the empire. The ceremonial and the names of the cap ranks are fully described in the Shin Ritsuryo. 9th day. Courier sent Ka-ru, T, Siang of the upper division and others with tribute. 13th day. Liu Jern, Yuan, the general for Pekshe, sent Li Shu, Chern and others to present a memorial. In this month, the rank of upper dakin was conferred on the minister Yurcha, Sin, and on Sathek Siu Myron. The rank of lower shakin on Quisel Chip, Sa. The rank of lower dazen on the Talsol Kong, Na Chin Siu Mok So Kwai Cha Nae Pong Nau, Tap, Han Ch Hyan, Cho, Han Il Pai Cha, Ch Han Fa Ra, Kim Na Kim, Siu and Quisel Chipson. The rank of upper Shozan was conferred on the Talsol, Turk Chayern, Siang, Kil T Siang, Her Kal Mo and Tak Pong Mu. The rank of lower Shozan was conferred on the other Talsol, more than 50 persons in all. There was a popular ditty as follows: the oranges, each on their own branches, though they grow when strung as pearls, are strung on the same string. 2nd month, 22nd day. Pekshe sent T, Kuyang, Siern and others with tribute. 3rd month, 3rd day. Hinjitsu, Kibumi no Miyako, presented to the emperor a water level. 17th day. The province of Hitachi, presented as tribute Nakatomi no Wakako. He was 1 foot 6 inches in height and was born in the year Hanoi Tatsu, so that he was in this year 16 years of age. Summer, 4th month, 25th day. A clepsydra was placed in the new pavilion, and for the first time the hours were struck, and bells and drums sounded. For the first time the clepsydra was used. In this month, Tsukashi reported that a deer had been born with 8 legs, but that it had died immediately. 5th month, 5th day. The emperor occupied the little western palace. The Prince Imperial and all the ministers attended on him at a banquet. On this occasion, rustic dances were twice performed before him. 6th month, 4th day. An announcement was made in regard to the military measures requested by the messengers from the 3 departments of Pekshe. 15th day. Pekshe sent Yechin, Cha and others to bring tribute. In this month, Prince Kurakuma was made governor of Tsukashi. Silla sent envoys bearing tribute. In addition, they presented to the emperor a water buffalo and a copper pheasant. Autumn, 7th month, 11th day. Li Shu, Chairn of Thang and his companions, and the Pekshe envoys took their departure together. 8th month, 3rd day. Karu, T, Siang of the upper division of Courier, and his people took their departure. 18th day. An entertainment was given to the Yamishi. The emperor took to his bed and was ill. Winter, 10th month, 7th day. Silla sent the Sasson, Kim Manmal and others to bring tribute. 8th day. The ceremony of opening the eyes of 100 Buddhas took place in the interior of the palace. In this month, the emperor sent messengers to offer to the Buddha of Hikoji a kesa, a golden begging bowl, a tusk of ivory, aloes wood, sandalwood, and various objects of value. 17th day. The emperor's disease became more grave. Hereupon the Prince Imperial, with repeated obeisances, declined firmly to receive, giving ill health as his reason. He said, "I pray thee let the mighty task be entrusted to the Empress, and let Prince Ohitomo undertake the promulgation of measures of government. It is thy servant request, for the emperor's sake, to renounce the world and practice religion." The emperor gave his consent, and the heir to the throne got up and bowed repeatedly. He straightway proceeded to the south of the Buddhist hall in the interior of the palace, and sitting upon a chair, shaved off his hair and became a priest. Upon this, the emperor sent him a present of a kessa by Sujita no Ikuiha. 19th day. The Prince Imperial visited the emperor and asked leave to go to Yashino and practice the religion of Buddha. The emperor granted him permission to do so. The Prince Imperial accordingly went to Yashino. The Oho, Omi and others escorted him as far as Uji and then returned. 11th month, 10th day. The total number being 2,000 had embarked in 47 ships which came to an anchor together at the island of Hijishima, where they said to one another, "The ships of our people are numerous, and if they suddenly arrived thither, it is to be feared that their guards would be alarmed and engage us in a battle of archery. So they have sent on Daban and others to give some notice in advance of their intention of proceeding to the court." 23rd day. The Imperial Prince Ohitomo took his place in front of the embroidery figure of Buddha in the western hall of the inner precinct, with Soga no Ake no Omi, the Prime Minister of the left, Nakatomi no Kane no Mureji, the Prime Minister of the right, Soga no Hachiyasu no Omi, Kos no Hito no Omi, and Kai no Ushi no Omi in attendance on him. He then took in his hands an incense burner and standing up first made a vow, saying, "We 6 men with like minds will obey the emperor commands." Upon this, Soga no Ake no Omi, the Prime Minister of the left, and the others took the incense burner in their hands, and standing up in order, one after another, made a vow with tears of blood, saying, "We, your 5 servants, will follow your highness' example and obey the emperor commands. If any of us should disregard them, let the 4 heavenly kings smite him, and let the gods of heaven and earth moreover punish his offense. Let the 33 devas bear witness to this. May his line become extinct and his house come to certain ruin," etc., etc. 24th day. Fire broke out in the palace of Ifumi. It began from the 3rd storehouse of the treasury. 29th day. The 5 ministers, in respectful attendance on the Imperial Prince Ohitomo, made oath in presence of the emperor. On this day, a present was made to the king of Silla of 50 hiki of fine silk, 50 hiki of coarse silk, 1,000 kin of floss silk, and 100 hides of leather. 12th month, 3rd day. The emperor died in the palace of Ifumi. 11th day. He was temporarily interred at the new palace. At this time there was a popular song as follows: For the trouts of Yashino and Miyashino, for the trouts indeed it is well by the side of the island. Alas, woe me. Here beneath the nagi plants, here beneath the water, parsley. Alas, woe me. Aye. As not even one has yet been loosed of the 8-fold cords to be loosed by the Omi children, the prince cord is loosed. Aye. As the red horse plods on reluctantly over the plain of Makudzu, why any message? Better simply to act. 7th day. The Sasson, Kim Manmal and his companions, the tribute, envoys sent by Silla, took their departure. This year, in the house of a man of the district of Yamada, in the province of Sanuki, there was a chicken with 4 legs. Moreover, in the imperial kitchen, there were 8 pots which gave out a sound. Sometimes 1 pot sounded, sometimes 2, and sometimes 3 together. Sometimes all 8 sounded together. Bay.